We're gonna have a few latecomers.
Okay, great. No problem at all. All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Hold on, I think you guys can do a lot better than that. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, that's a little better. One more time. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. What's that?
I'm not starting about it.
Love it. All right.
I'm not calling out anybody. So do it one more time. Yeah.
Good morning, Keller Williams.
Good morning.
We got to bring the energy. I know it's Friday, and you guys are gonna sit through a couple-hour class here, so we're gonna make this fun and keep it fun and keep it light. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. My name is Brian Wentz. I'm the operating principal for Kittiwake Coastal Living. I've been in the real estate industry for 29 years. I start my 30th year in, I forget, I think it's December is when I go into my 30th year. So if you're doing the math, yes, I started in real estate when I was 6 years old. I was actually 20, turning 21 when I got a real estate license. I kind of joke, I could sell a house, but I couldn't buy it legally. And I kind of happened into real estate by accident. In fact, probably a little bit like some of you, I at the time, well, this was back in the day, and this is how you looked for things, but I was looking through the classified ads. And I had been in school for about a year and a half, and I realized that I was psychologically unemployable. I was an entrepreneur, even if I was dyslexic and couldn't quite spell it right. And I saw this classified ad for a real estate career night. I said to one of my buddies, it was one of the only times I ever actually worked an actual job in my life, like a W-2 job. I said, hey, let's go to this thing. He goes, yeah, that looks really interesting. So we go to this huge real estate office, this huge real estate company in town, which, by the way, later is going to come up in this presentation because it's a little bit of a twist of irony of how it happened. So we go to this real estate office, we go kind of down into the belly of this office, down the garden level, and we sit through a career night. Now, how many of you guys have been to a career night? Okay, yeah, a lot of you. We're walking out of the office, and I turned to my buddy and I said, can you believe this? And he goes, yeah, those people are crazy. And I said, well, hold on, what? Yeah, like, you're not interested? And he goes, you're not really going to do this, are you? And I said, you're not? And he goes, wait. He goes, there's no 401k. There's no paycheck. And I'm going, yeah, but there's no boss, which worked well for me. There's no boss. Unlimited earnings potential, low barrier to entry. I get to make my own schedule. Like, this is awesome. Now, the funny part about that is 29 years later, the company that we both worked at, he is now the number 2 guy in charge there. He's still at that exact same company. So it's kind of a funny how life happens and how this industry attracts the right people and sometimes keeps the right people out. But this is what I want you guys to take away today. This industry can change your life forever. And I mean that sincerely. It can change who you are as an individual. This company can change who you are as a parent, as a leader, as a member of your community, as a business person. And through real estate, because we have an unlimited earnings potential, we actually have the ability to impact the generational wealth that we create for our family. So what you're doing, if you do it right, can actually outlast you into the next generation. I think that's pretty cool. And I also think that how many other industries can you get up in the morning and go, you know what, today or this year, I think I'm going to double my income. Like if you went to your boss at another company and said, hey, I'd like 100% raise. I'd like to go from 100 to 200,000. Does that work? No. Can we do it in this business?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to just kind of impart on you as you go through this journey today of the KWA is this. Life is lived inside to the outside, which what I mean, it's the spiritual to the physical, which means that your life and everything that happens to you that you control, because there's things we can't control, it starts with how you think. And this is why you're going to see so much of Keller Williams is rooted in the mindset of how do you think. And it's also why we don't have an MREA in here. Do you have an MREA? Great. It's why the MREA, the first 116 pages, is all about mindset. So you got 284 pages, and a third of the book is just mindset. So the reason I say that is you get to choose what your business looks like by how you think, the actions that you take, and the outcomes that you get. We're going to talk a little bit about this book today. How many of you guys have seen this book before? How many of you have read it?
Still reading.
Okay, still reading it. How many of you read it 12 times? Okay, probably 15 now. This is a chameleon book, and I'm not joking. I say this with complete respect and respect for religion. This is your real estate Bible. And if you will study this, pay attention to this, really dive into the material and internalize the concepts, you will realize really quickly how easy it is to grow your business systematically to any level you want. Of course, this is based on how do you get to $1 million a year of net income? So how do you get to, come on, how are you?
Hello.
How do you get to $1 million a year of net income, which would be 2.4 million of gross commission income? And it's a pathway and it's a model, and it's all based on top performers and how they did it in the back. Gary interviewed the top 1%. We'll talk about this book a little bit through the course of the presentation. So this class, the KW Way, is written because Keller Williams is it's like an onion. When you start peeling it, like there's just another layer and there's another layer and there's another layer. And it's really easy, I think, as an agent, I think it's really easy that when you kind of live in your own zip code, so to speak, what I mean by that is if all you know about Keller Williams is the walls of this office and a little bit of what happens here in the classroom, you're going to have a good experience. And yet, when you look at the bigger picture and all of the additional tools and resources and trainings and communities and the networking opportunities that come from this company that we're associated with, all of a sudden you start to realize there's a whole bunch more there than what you realized. So today we're gonna do kind of a 50,000 foot view. And then as we go through the material, we're going to kind of dive down into the more like, 1,000 foot view. Now, I want also today for you guys to get to know each other. So what I'm going to start off by asking you is, I'd like you to just introduce yourself. How long have you been in real estate? And what would make today a win for you? What's the question that you'd like to have answered? Rebecca? $20 for Candy Care. Yay!
I'm Rebecca Adams. I am your team leader, if you didn't know that. I've been in real estate for 26 years, and what I would like to get out of this is for ahas from each one of you and to walk away with like, whoa, I didn't know that, and now that I do, and now I'm gonna go walk away and do something with it.
Great. All right. Miss Kennedy. You
Hi.
want to step up here real quick? Great. We'll make her come to the front. Kennedy is our agent services coordinator. She's preparing to teach this class next week at Inglewood. She's been through it a few times, so.
Yes. Okay. So my name's Kennedy Young. Like Brian said, I'm director of agent services down in Inglewood. And also come up here. You'll see me in and out of the office as well. What was the other things? Which was? Oh, sorry. Yeah. I got into real estate when I was 19. I'm 24 now. So I've been in real estate coming on 5 or 6 years. I sold in Virginia. That's where I'm from. Also in the process of getting my license down here as well. And then I want for you guys to get a lot out of today and learn all the things in the KW toolbox to enhance your life and propel your business forward.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome.
So my name is John. 1 month. I'm very new.
Yay.
And I love to learn about Keller Williams family and also what you stand for. So far, I have to say I'm learning a lot, and I make mistakes, but go back and keep correcting them and learn them. So
Yeah, that's good. Real estate's interesting because it's trial by fire.
yeah,
You don't go sit in school for 4 years to learn all the things that you need to do. You actually go do it and you fail forward along the way. And on that note, the thing that I want you all to understand is that anytime you see a successful person, you are actually looking at a really big failure. Now, what do you think I mean by that?
Before they got to the knee, they fell several times, so long.
Yeah, you fail forward. The trick with failure is learn a lesson, thank the teacher, and then just don't make that mistake again. So when we look at real estate, mastery, there's a book called Talent is Overrated. Mastery is typically about 10,000 hours of purposeful practice.
So like outliers, so.
Yeah, and outliers. Yeah, great book. 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. If you spend 3 to 4 hours a day purposefully practicing your trade, by the way, is that easy or hard? It's work. Let's be real. If you're practicing your scripts and your dialogues and you're honing your lead generation skills and you're diving into your business plan and you're tracking your 411 and you're doing everything you need to do, it would take you 12 to 14 years, depending if you're spending 3 or 4 hours a day to get into mastery in real estate. So if you feel like you don't know it all, welcome to real estate. It's okay. That's the process. Don't let that stop you. Just go do it. Cool.
Oh, Lisa Diggins, I've been in real estate 2.5 years, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about the Keller Williams path to success
Okay.
and a step-by-step process to help me be a really rich, successful
that.
agent.
Yeah. Good morning. Good. Love that. All right. Thanks, Lisa. Okay. Pathway.
Wayne Diller. I've been in real estate over 40 years. I bought and sold on my first house when I was 23. So I've been in real estate as an agent for 10 months. And today just second time to run them through the Pastor Brian and hopefully we'll learn something as I always do.
Good. Awesome. We're glad you're here. It's been 40 years.
Since I bought, yeah.
Wow.
A 3-year-old, not the average age, he's like 36. So
Yeah, right.
I'm happy
Yeah.
for those kids, yeah.
Got me beat. So fantastic.
I bought my first house when I was 19.
Huh?
In Medicine, but in a business as a full-time real estate agent for now 3 years, going in 4.
Okay.
I got the license 1 year prior to that. So worked with property management company for a couple of years, and now here in this office, and I'm excited.
Good. And share your name with everybody.
Oh, my name is Josephina.
Josephina, everyone knows you, but. And I think you've got WCR on your badge,
Yes,
is
I'm
that
a
correct?
president, yes, I'm a president of
That's-
the Council of Realtors, Manatee County.
Congratulations, that's awesome. Heather was extremely involved in WCR for many years, my wife. Nearly every single, we're gonna talk about profit share today. Nearly every single person that she put into her profit share tree, she met through WCR. And most of those agents are still with Keller Williams, and that's been like since like 2008, 2009.
What does that stand for?
Women's Council of Realtors. Was it Evie Holiday? Is that who started it? Was it
Now
Evie?
you got me.
I think it was Evie that started it down in Dallas, Texas originally, and because it was kind of the guys club that real estate was, and Evie said, "This is BS. We're gonna create a space for women." And now you can be a male and join, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
It goes 15% now is male.
that's cool.
And a lot of them are going into the leadership position. My first vice president is actually male as well.
Ah,
The president of Manatee County 2 years ago, Tony Barrett, the one that
Oh, yeah.
was, president for Raism. He was the first president for WCS, so there's a lot of male involved and we need them, so everybody's welcome.
Good. That's awesome. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
your leadership.
My name is Jude. I've been in real estate for about 6 months now, and I would like to make 6 figures this year.
Okay, good. I intend to.
I intend
I
to.
intend to.
Intend to.
What would you like to take away from today?
Just learn how to grow my business.
Okay, perfect. Okay, grow your business. You're up.
I know this was a go around, all right. My name is John. I've been in it for a little over a year and a half. In real estate, I sold 1 property. I did open houses. Basically, back in New York, I was a teamster for fuel oil.
Okay,
I belong to 2 teamsters. Actually, I have 2 partial pensions coming in. And now I work for Sarasota County also for transportation. And I'm an agent out here now. So almost 2 years now I've been out here. So
good. Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome. And you still have the New York accent.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lose that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Don't lose that. All right. Next up,
I'm Erin. I've been in real estate 3.5 years. I was an agent in Wisconsin. My husband and I just moved here 6 months ago.
awesome.
So I've just been here a few weeks and I'm looking to scale and build my business.
Good, I love that. Where, who were you with in Wisconsin?
Madison.
Okay.
Maybe Madison.
Yeah. Good, awesome. We're glad you're here.
Hi, I'm Ina. I've been licensed for a year now. I'm very new to real estate. Also here to just learn how to grow.
Okay, good, awesome. What's the specific question you'd love to answer today?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm just learning.
Okay,
I'm
good.
just soaking everything in. I'm very new.
That's okay. That's allowed. That's perfectly allowed. So we're glad you're here.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I got licensed in 2021 and I joined this office in November of 2021. That's licensed.
Yeah.
Just before the office, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I've been with Rebecca and Brian for my 4 years. I'm a retired school district administrator from New Jersey. I do have a part-time job, so I consider myself through a career.
Okay, yeah.
Some of you will see me a lot and then you won't see me for a while, because probably my part-time job is keeping me busy, traveling, whatever. And I've never taken this course.
Wow. Okay.
So it's like.
Well, good. We're glad you're here.
KWA was an address.
It is. That's funny.
Okay, so I've never taken this, but I sold a property last year. It was a military relocation from California. That was a referral. I did an open house with someone. This person's in Tampa and they're like, you know what, Sandy, did such a good job for me. Would you like to do that?
Yeah.
And then I recently closed with a friend of mine. So that's what I do. And like I said, I'm here because I've never taken.
Good,
it.
well, I'm glad you're here. And one of the things I really respect about you, and Wayne, you're in that boat, and there's a few other of you in this room, that you guys are always in the markets. And I think there's a rule that when you show up, you go up. Loretta, you're in the same boat. You're here, like you show up. That gives you opportunities to have conversations. It gives you opportunities to overhear some of my best learning. In fact, one of my early ahas that I had when I was an agent, we had this huge bullpen area in this office that I was in. I started with Better Homes and Gardens back in the 90s. There was a guy, how many of you guys know Bob Ross? I date myself when I say Bob Ross. There was a guy at the cubicle next to me that had the Bob Ross hair, but it was white. It was like a giant white afro on a very, very, very white gentleman. And I would hear him on the phone and he would take an ad call and he would always ask, are you pre-approved? And every single time, of course, they would usually say no, because they're just starting the process. He'd say, well, hey, my name's Tim Lochner. Here's my number, 252-1411. Give me a call back when you're approved. And he would hang up. And I heard him do that like 4 or 5 times. I went, they're never going to call him back. Like he just lost that lead. And I remember sitting at my desk that day, and there was a loan originator that I had met that had been in our office and had gone to another office. I called him up and I said, hey, Bill, I think there's an opportunity for me to learn financing. By the way, I'm 20 turning 21. So, and I look like I'm 12, and the average age in the industry was 57 at that point. And by the way, it hasn't changed. It's still 57 is the average. I said, would you be willing to teach me financing? Because I keep hearing these people that don't know anything about it and they lose the lead. And he goes, can you be at my office in an hour? I said, sure. So I show up and he was doing a loan approval. And I sat through a whole bunch of loan approvals with him. I learned how to qualify, I learned how to do a front end ratio, back end ratio. He taught me the different loan products. And I was able to use that concept. By the way, you have to do this in a Reg Z compliant way. But all of my listings, I would take even listings of other agents in the office, and I would put together special financing, 3-2-1 buy downs, 2-1 buy downs. We would do, every one of our ads said you could own this home for $28.37 down and $7.31 a month principal and interest, and you got your Reg Z stuff in there. And I built my career on first time buyers that didn't even know that they could buy a house. And that went to yard signs that out in front of every one of my listings. And by the way, sometimes they're like, this is cheesy. And I'm like, yes. And it gets I don't wanna say a bad word, it gets a crap ton of inquiries. Does the inquiries turn into customers and turn into deals? And so being in the office, you can hear things that you go, that's an insight I can learn from. So good job for you
Yeah,
guys.
and I just wanna say, piggyback on that, and that's why I come in here, because like Loretta's here. And I can bounce question off of her, and when Lindsay and her team, Lindsay is an investor. This market center,
So,
they'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
The MREA, the agent.
And I wanna add to that, there's something about the camaraderie and getting together when you see other people doing it,
Yep.
or you gotta do it, or it motivates you. When you're home in your office and it's kinda isolating.
Yep.
I just,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
it's good.
Good. All right, where are we? We got. You're next.
I'm Kate. I've been in real estate since 2021. That's when I became a licensed agent. But prior to that, I did title processing,
I didn't know
which
that.
I did in 2017.
I didn't know that. Who were you with?
A few companies. I was with Berlin Patent, Properties Title, and Belmont.
Okay, did not know that. Good to know. That's awesome. We've got our title company launch on the backside,
Yeah.
so you may have some connections for it. So, all right, Shannon.
Well, of course, my name is Shannon and you all might know me as your front desk girl right now. I've had my license for 3 years. I've been practicing real estate now about 5.5 months. And what I'm hoping to get out of this class is kind of been focusing on systems this week and how to put those in place in my business and start a routine with every single process of my business. I think that's important, and so I'm hoping to learn some ways to do that.
Okay, fantastic, awesome. Miss Loretta?
I've been, I'm in my 6th year. Worst 4+ years was down in Naples that I sold. So got to realize and familiarize myself there. Loved it down there as well, but my grandchildren were up here, moved up here, and Paul introduced me to KW. The more I looked into it, I liked it. So I joined it. I have a lot of big different things in my background, so I won't go there. But I'm really interested in today's class because I keep getting into the connect. Off a command and see more and more and more, and I pulled down playbooks and I pulled down. I'm starting because I'm coming to the realization that when you have 15 people that you're talking to, or 20 because you've met them at open houses, you gotta have a system. You gotta put something into place. So I really am working hard on presentations and a particular book itself, and want to learn more about the AI with Inside Command because that's going to make my life easier. And that, so.
Awesome. A great tip on AI is take those playbooks, upload them to your Chat GPT, tell it to remember this, and then ask it questions like what would be a creative lead generation strategy using one of the playbooks that I could implement? You will be floored what it will come up with. It's crazy good. So that's awesome. Okay, last and absolutely not least, Miss Abigail.
There, my name is Abby. I am the transaction coordinator with Gulf Coast Closing. So I'm here today to find anything that will help you.
Yes.
Help me help you.
And she downplays her importance. She said, I'm just the transaction coordinator, and yet she oversees Gulf Coast Closings. She's one of our right-hand individuals in the operation. She is your partner in success. When you do a real estate transaction, on average, there's about 52 hours in a transaction. And I won't do the math, but I encourage you to come to a team meeting where she does the math. Transaction coordination can be paid for by the customer, first of all. Secondly, it takes about 20 hours out of the transaction. And when you do the math, if you're making $10,000 on a commission and you put in 30 hours versus 50 hours, your dollar per hour just went way up. So TC takes the guesswork, the fumbling, the not knowing what you're doing out of the contract to close. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna be really candid. I personally in my career wouldn't have done a transaction that I didn't have a TC on, because that 20 hours, I want to go I wanna go write another contract, I wanna go hold another open house, I wanna go meet 5 people and put them in my database. As opposed to sit and work on paperwork. And the good news is there's people like Abigail that love the paperwork. And there's people like me that like don't even get me close to the paperwork, I will mess it up. So if you're like me, it's even more important, so.
If you're a new agent coming in, and we've had like a lot come in from other market centers or different areas, I can walk you through the processing too, what's required for here, Florida, all that good fun.
Cool, love that. All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna dive in. So a couple things. One, I love that you guys are all here, anxious to learn and to hear. So that's fantastic. Keller Williams has a very unique culture, and our culture is a culture of abundance. And I'm going to be 100% honest. It's funny, somebody yesterday on the Zoom, in our circle did the same thing. I forget who it was. A word came up, they had to Google it in order to figure out like what it actually meant. Was that you, Loretta? Okay.
It was me.
It was you. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So,
Remember the word though.
yeah, I don't remember what the word was either. And when I first got hired to be a team leader, well, let me back up. I was with Better Homes and Gardens in the 90s. I had the opportunity to be a part of starting an independent brokerage in 2000. Between 2000 and 2011, we grew to 78 agents as an independent brokerage. We were the company in town that everyone knew if you work with one of those agents, they will do it absolutely right. They will know the rules, they'll know the laws, they'll be professional, they'll be respectful. We would still kind of fight for our client's position in the transaction. So, don't mistake that. And yet we were the people who did it right. And through the 2008 through 2011, if you were in the industry or in any industry at that point related to housing, that was a really, really tough year. August of 2008, this is a true story. We were calling each other's phones to see if the phone still worked because it just shut off. I mean, no one called, no one came to open houses, no one was buying. It was very hard. We had gone from 78 agents down to 38 agents, and I started getting a phone call from this lady, and this lady would say, Hi, this is Casey Bell, and I'm down here in Tulsa, Oklahoma," and she had this super thick Southern accent, "and I just want to talk to y'all about an opportunity. Call me back, 918. And I was like, who is this person? And I put her in my phone as Southern Lady, do not answer. That's exactly what I put her in my phone. And every time she called me for a year, I sent her to voicemail. Okay. I would just push it and go to voicemail. Well, in 2011 in July, we had an agent that left our office. And there's those moments where in business you just go, this is a turning point. And I realized if that agent would leave, they would all leave. And our broker manager had really grown tired. He'd been in the industry for 40 years at that point. He was just kind of ready to go kind of do something else. And so the phone rang and I took her call. And she said, "Well, you're a hard person to reach." And I said, "Well, I'm only reachable if I want to be reached." And she said, "Well, I'm glad you wanted to be reached. Let's talk." And she was inviting me to go to Austin, Texas to an event called Mega Camp. And she said, "You're going to pay your own way, but I would just like you to be a fly on the wall in the conversation." Now, what I did not know is that she had been driving from Tulsa to Des Moines to try to open a Keller Williams office. There was no Keller Williams in our entire state, and we were the only state that did not have KW in it. She had tried to place a referral, and there was no Keller Williams. And she's like, "What do you mean there's no KW?" Now, there's two things I want you to hear in this. One, opportunity knocks. Sometimes you have to open the door. Two, I want you to understand that Keller Williams isn't just about selling real estate. There are so many other pathways to opportunities, and we're going to look at the opportunity map today to show you all of the other things you can do in this company. And it's a playground for high achievers. So I said, "I'll go." And about an hour later, my partner called, Doug, and he said, "Did you talk to that woman?" And I thought I was going to be in trouble. And I was like, "Yes." And he said, "I did too. I think we should go to Austin." I was like, "Okay, let's go." So we took 7 people to Austin. At that time in my career, I was doing about 50 to 60 units a year. But I was hitting a ceiling of achievement. I was having the same year every year over. I'd been in the industry for 16 years, But for the last 5 years of that, I had the same year 5 years in a row. And I wanted to know, how do you do more business? How do you grow faster? Like, how do you blow this thing up and get to the next level and not just have to give up to go up? And in my market, we literally had, you could count on one hand the number of agents out of about 1,800 agents. You could count on one hand how many had an assistant. We were in a 1973 style market in 2011. And every time I would talk about what I wanted to do, they would say, it can't be done. It's too hard. You're going to just give up your entire life. Just plan to not see your family. You can't grow that fast. I'm going, that doesn't settle well with me, but I kind of went, okay. So I had that little feeling in me, but that knowing at Mega Camp, the cosmetic lady talked about that knowing in your gut. So I went to Mega Camp, and in the first hour, we're sitting on stage. And in 2011, Gary kind of back to the fundamental basics about the MREA. And every agent on stage was holding out the book and saying, I've been in the business 5 years. I closed 321 units last year. My GCI was 2.66 million. My net profit was 1.24 million. I'm going, 5 years? I'm like, how big of a price point is that? And I look up Bellingham, Washington, and the average price was like 84,000. And I'm like, how is he in the business 5 years and he's doing 321 units? And they just kept holding this book up and saying, all I'm doing is following the model. All I'm doing is following the model. Now, in the first 2 to 3 hours, I got the answers to my 4 or 5 biggest questions handed to me from stage. And I actually texted some people that were important to me in my world at the time. And I said, hey, we're going to do this, and this is going to change our life forever. About 3 or 4 hours later, I texted back and I said, I would like to amend what I said. This is going to change a lot of people's lives forever. And the journey from there, you're going to hear a little bit about what happened in our Des Moines office. We kind of made some national news and kind of created a ripple and are part of the fabric of the culture of Keller Williams. All I wanted to do was to be an agent, to grow my business at a really big goal. I had figured out 1,221 units a year fulfilled everything economically for me that I wanted. And I had a pathway now through an economic model and a lead generation model to go do that. When we launched the company, our competitor sent us a little welcome to town, and I'll share with you what that looked like. And that caused me to raise my hand. I was an investor in the market center. It was the biggest check I'd ever written in my life at that point. And we had a competitor that didn't want to play well with us. And I stepped into leadership. I became a team leader. I hired about 562 agents over my career as a team leader. And one of my greatest sources of pride, I want you to understand that this can be any one of you in this room. Today, 9 of my top 10 agents in our Des Moines office, and that's an office that does about 2,800 units a year. 9 of my top 10 agents were agents I hired as brand new agents. Like some of them just right out of college. One of them will do over 300 units this year, and one of them will do over 400 units this year. And the one that's doing over 400, he now has, I think, like 7 or 8 businesses related to real estate. And he's 32 years old. Okay. And he dresses in jeans and a t-shirt every day. Okay. So the message I want you to hear is that you can do this. This is actually very, very, very doable depending on what you want. And in Keller Williams, we say the purpose of business is to fund your truly perfect life. So we have to get clear on what that life looks like. How much money does it take for you to be able to earn to go do what you want to do? Because we don't want to just chase the dollar for the purpose of chasing the dollar. So let's dive in here. And where's my clicker? There we go. All right. Got Mr. John Keller has got a video for us. Here we go. Know where I put my clicker at.
In 2023, Keller Williams turns 40. And sometimes midlife crisis is a good thing. Now, we aren't going to run out and buy a flashy sports car, or a boat, or some other toy. And we aren't suddenly going to grow a mustache. because we've already got one. But it is time for something big, because that's what we do. It's time to tell the world who we really are and why we were called to this. T.S. Eliot said, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." We started as a small real estate company with a mission to become so trusted by our clients that we could become their realtor for life. But of course, Gary Keller taught us that to be realtors for life, we had to be more than realtors. We're coaches, therapists, mentors, mind readers, and magicians. We're digital hunters with human touch. Wheelers and dealers who only use our powers for good. We are advocates and shoulders to cry on, friends to lean on, and confidants to trust. Together, we are the keys and the doors to new futures. This is the most important time in our lives, as a company, and simply as people. Your clients are feeling that same thing when they come to you. Their first homes, their final homes, newly married, newly divorced, empty nesters are more on the way. These are the most joyous, terrifying, and hopeful times of all our lives. Because our clients are jumping off cliffs and trusting you to build wings on the way down. We get to feel the thrill of that connection every day, if we do our jobs right. If we do our jobs right, they aren't jobs at all. It is indeed a calling to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. To be entrepreneurs. For 40 years, we at Keller Williams have deeply believed that entrepreneurship is the miracle of America. That in America, if you can dream it, you can build it. We're privileged to be in the business of buying and selling the most important and life-changing dream. The dream of owning a home of your own. It's not just an American dream, it's a dream shared around the world. At Keller Williams, we want to continue to earn the right to be the home of the dreamers, the doers, the entrepreneurs, the hundreds of thousands of you who have dreamed and built your own business, and in the process, built ours. We all know everything changes, but we will always champion you, the entrepreneurs who are powered by purpose, by energy and passion, teamwork, trust, and technology, integrity and culture, and trained in the rules of how we would do it, but who also have the confidence to bend the rules in ways Gary never dreamed of, but hoped you would. You see, we aren't here to teach you our past, or to try and predict your future. We're here to help you create the future. We are reigniting a culture of celebrating entrepreneurial visionaries, because real leaders don't create followers. We create more leaders. We are teaching rebellion and inspiring invention. Your mavericks and world changers, and your relentless creativity, fueled by the competitive drive inside every one of you, will make the real estate models of today look quaint by the time you're finished. Everything we ever did was a risk. We started as a little underdog company and grew to be the largest real estate company in the world. You know what underdogs do when they get big? They look for bigger fights. Look for those fights. We want you to out Gary. Take risks. Take heart. Take action. All these things that you are for your clients, the coach, the therapist, and the key to a new future, we will redevote ourselves to being for you. There's a reason we want your name larger than ours on signs. When you look at your clients and think to yourself, it's not about me, it's about them. Well, it's not about us. It's about you. This is the most important time in our lives. You're living in a home built for entrepreneurs to thrive. And true entrepreneurs don't have to wait for doors to open for them. After all, we have our own lockboxes. Welcome home.
Right, we are the place where entrepreneurs thrive. Chokes me up to say that. All right. So we're gonna jokingly call this video the many faces of Gary. To understand what's unique about our model, we really have to go back and understand how did we get started. And Gary was a kind of a wandering, aimless high school student. His biggest goal in life was to be in a rock band and play the guitar. And he came home one weekend and he said to his parents, he said, hey, I don't know that I'm ever gonna be as good as I wanna be. And his mom said, well, what would you like to do? And he said, I don't know. And she said, well, would you like to go to college? And he said, yeah, I guess so. And she said, good, because we applied you to Baylor and you were accepted. Okay, so he had applied, his sister had gone to Baylor. He went to real estate, and again, I want you to hear the simplicity of this. He went to Baylor to study real estate. He got a degree in marketing and real estate. The only person that he interviewed with were the people that came to campus. You do the campus career events. The people that came to campus, and one of the guys that he signed with said, hey, how much do you want to make? And he said, I think 100,000. I forget what it was. He goes, oh no, I take it back. He said 26,000, because that's how much a marketing person made when he came out of school. I forgot that part. So it's 26,000 a year. This was in the 70s. And he said, well, he shook his hand. He goes, congratulations. I hope you make it. And Gary went, well, that's weird. I hope you make it. What does that mean? And so he went home and he realized that it was an all commission job. He didn't even realize that you didn't get paid. Like, that's how wandering aimless he was. But the first broker that he went to work for, you're going to hear him talk about this a little bit. He and the broker just constantly butted heads. And one day he said to his broker, he said, hey, I just realized, he said, you, Mr. Broker, think that I, as the agent, work for you, don't you? And he goes, you do. And Gary said, no, I disagree. He said, actually, I think you work for me, because I have a real estate license. I'm a free agent. I can take my license anywhere I want to go. And therefore, you actually work for me as the agent. And that was the genesis of everything that became Keller Williams. And in fact, the story goes that at that time, he had asked to have the fax machine fixed. And this lady was sitting at the front desk and she's like, they did my nails, they're wet. I'll fix it when I get to it. He's like, no, we need to have, like, this needs to be productivity specific. This is important. And he brought some clients in, and a bunch of agents were eating greasy cheeseburgers in one of the conference rooms, and it smelled like horrible cheeseburger smell in there. And he realized that the way that the office was run was top down, not bottom up, and that it was, they believed that the company was the asset, not the agent. And that started the journey. Now it's a really fascinating story that when we teach Quantum Leap, we talk about this. Life is messy. And so Gary actually built the office and then he quit. And the broker came back to him. They had a really weird love-hate relationship. The broker came back to him and said, I can't afford to lose you. Tell me how much it's going to cost for you to stay. And Gary said he wrote down the biggest number he could think of at the time and slid it back across the table to him. And he looked at it and he goes, okay, I'll do this, but I have a job for you. And he sent him up to a little sheep town called Round Rock, Texas. Keller, he started in Austin to fix this office that was really messed up. And Gary went there, and this is when he realized he was a closet teacher. He loved to teach, he loved to coach, he loved to train agents. And he talks about the fact that his office was a broom closet. He knew that because he had to move the brooms out of it to go make room in the closet to have his desk. And over this period of time, he had met a lady that had become his wife, and they got married, but they had a nepotism policy in that company. And so the boss said, hey, your wife can come work over here at my office, but she can't work at your office. So they were working there. Well, Gary, two things happened. One, they made a decision. That broker came in the middle of the night before Christmas, and changed the commission splits. And there was a rule in their company that said if there's a policy change and you don't say something within, I think it was 72 hours, the policy applies to you. Well, he did it over Christmas so that no one would realize to protest the commission change. So Gary got very mad. and he quit and he left. And that's when he started Keller Williams with a guy by the name of Joe Williams. And Joe and Gary never really got along, to be really candid. Joe is just this funny, laughable, like every time I've ever interacted with him, he's telling jokes and you're laughing. And Gary is obviously very serious, all business. Well, Gary's wife came home and said, I've never loved you. I had affairs on you and we're getting a divorce. And so that first year with Keller Williams, it made money. He's going to talk about this. He made money. And all of a sudden, when he shows up in divorce courts, his former broker is there. And she was having a fling with him at the other office. And that's what precipitated all this. And so Gary talks about the fact that he went from the highest of high to the lowest of low. And he said during that period of his time, he said it's like jumping and falling in a hole 6 foot deep. In order to get out of it, you've got to be able to jump higher than 6 foot. And he said, once I learned how to jump that high, and I got out of the hole I was in, I just kept jumping that high, and that's how I built the company. Okay. So again, there's mindset in this that applies. So let's hear Gary tell a little bit of how he sees it.
Hi, I'm Gary Keller, and I'm here to share with you the history of our company, Keller Williams. Keller Williams is unique. We put our agents first and work tirelessly to identify and meet their needs. We are simply one of the most innovative and successful real estate companies on the planet. The Keller Williams was a grand experiment in my life, and the origins of this company have their roots in my early experiences in the real estate business. On the advice of my dad, I got a degree in marketing and real estate with a specialization, particularly in real estate and insurance from Baylor University. In 1979, I graduated and came to Austin, Texas, and got into the real estate business. I eventually went into management, and because I loved teaching and helping people to achieve their business and life goals, I decided to make a career of leadership and management training. By the time I was 26, I was the vice president of expansion at Austin's largest real estate company at that time. And then I quit. The vision of the company I was with was that their agents worked for the company. And I'd constantly tell the owner at that time that I believed the company worked for the agent. If they just focused on building the agents and treating them right, then they would build the company bigger than they ever dreamed. Companies are nothing more than people. People create everything inside of organizations. And what's going to make us better in the long term is the way that our people think. Our goal is to tap the way people think, take advantage of that thought process and put it to use for everybody. So in 1983, the experiment began. I left where I was and I partnered with Joe Williams, great guy. And we started Keller Williams Realty with just a handful of agents and some folding tables and chairs. By the end of the first year, we had netted over $100,000 and put it in the bank. In 2 years, we grew over 70 associates and had become Austin's largest single office real estate company and number 10 in the market overall. And then the market fell out. It was 1986. We shrunk from over 70 associates to below 40 associates. And although we were still profitable, a new competitor moved to town and 5 of my top 10 associates, plus my entire administrative staff, walked out the door. To meet the new challenges in the market and stand up to my competition, I knew I had to reinvent Keller Williams. True to my beliefs, I started with agents. Gathering my top 13 associates, I asked this question: how can we run the company in such a way that you achieve everything that you want, and at the same time, we achieve everything we want? And here's what we came up with: the best possible commission structure we could think of, in treating the agents like business partners, to profit share with access to the financial information, formalized input into how the business should be run through an agent leadership council, and supportive management who consults and promotes teamwork, the highest level of training we could think of. And we implemented these ideas in less than 2 years. Our company became number 1 in our market, positive, never to be relinquished yet. Putting agents first was obviously a successful model. So we took it even further by devising a plan to organize top agents into a series of agent leadership councils, formally at the local, city, regional, and international levels. Most people think we're crazy when we share with them that we've actually turned the entire company's decision-making process over to our associates in tandem with our managers. But we have. The Agent Leadership Council, the ALC, was set up so that our salespeople could directly impact most of the decisions and all of the decisions that impact them. This revolutionary step gave Keller Williams tremendous credibility and was a catalyst for more actions aimed at putting agents in the driver's seat. Our open book policy, standardized accounting procedures, and published results. The result was growth. We began franchising in 1991 and expanded to Canada in 1998. By working one-on-one with masterminding with hundreds of top agents from across the country, we created a set of models that became the foundation of my first book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which I published in 2004. The book hit a nerve, found an audience. There were like-minded agents all over North America who found the answers they'd been looking for in that book. In the second half of the decade, as the crazy run-up in real estate prices started to backfire, Keller Williams Realty and our associates were uniquely positioned to seize the shift as an opportunity for growth. You see, Keller Williams Realty got its start during a rotten real estate market, and the hard-fought lessons that we learned during those years have really stayed with us. So we published Shift, which was a follow-up to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. In it, we set forth a 12-point action plan for how top agents tackle really tough times. Shift became a national New York Times bestseller as our company and our agents took it up a notch, outpacing the market and proving that the market doesn't dictate whether or not we succeed. It only tells us how we're going to succeed. We launched the luxury homes division, which extended our reach into that segment of the market. We created Keller Williams Commercial, which is now the fastest growing commercial real estate company in North America. Pursuing our dream to bring the Keller Williams opportunity to the world, we opened Keller Williams Worldwide and have laid the groundwork for overseas expansion. Ensuring that our associates have what it takes to serve their clients and run their businesses with technological tools that are unmatched in the industry, we responded to the insights of the most tech-savvy associates among us and developed eEdge, one paperless loop for lead management, contact management, marketing, and transaction management. We're not a company that sits still. And it's all because Keller Williams Realty is in the hands of smart, determined, forward-thinking agents such as you. We're here to serve you. And we're very proud to be in business with you. And we're so glad you've decided to join us on this unbelievable ride.
Right. I call that the mini faces of Gary because there's like 15 years of him in there. It's obviously a very old video, but it's the only video that we have that really tells the story the way Gary tells it. So obviously Command, eEdge is very, very, very gone, and Command is replaced, and all the logos look different, but the foundation of who we are is really represented in there. I'm curious, what did you hear that stood out? Was there anything that was an aha?
Just that the agent comes first, like you work for us, you know.
Yeah, we do.
You know who always says that too is the Cochran, you know, the.
Barbara Cochran.
Yeah.
Yep. We do work for you, right? Very truly. You are the most important thing in our company, the agent. We wake up every day asking ourselves, how do we help you get what you want today? And at the end of the day, we go to bed going, did we do enough today to help them get what they want? And there are some days you go, high five, yes, it's great. And there are other days you go, oof, missed the mark, gonna do better tomorrow. And that's just honest. Are you okay if I be honest with you on stuff? Yes, we do miss the mark at times. We're human. What else did you hear?
Just really never give up, no matter what he did, so many big bumps on the road. He just never give up and keep going, and keep overcoming, no matter what, losing the edge and still going. And then I see the pictures with boot camp creation and all that stuff, so trying to really build that team that he needed to have and give what he can.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, so when he answered the phones at the office, it was one office, he answered the phones, Keller Williams Realty International, which is why when we expanded outside the US, he had to call it worldwide because the word international was actually the US based portion of the company. So that was a big vision even back then. Okay. One more, look here, one more thing you heard in that video that stood out.
I would say even with the up and down for the market, they just continue to go back to their agents and figure out how they can collab to, come out of it.
That's it. That's it. The best ideas come from you. There's no question about that. That's not to say that we're not smart and forward thinking how we do things, but you guys collectively bring more to the table than just the three of us do, or the four of us. So cool, awesome, okay. So let's talk about our mission, and the mission of Keller Williams is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living. For 34 years, I think it was, it stopped there, and the last two were were assumed, and then Mo Anderson, who you're gonna get to meet a little bit in a moment. She said, you know, we're missing something. And so she added the experience is worth giving and the legacy is worth leaving. Now, let's break this down for a moment. A career worth having is an intrinsically rewarding career where you know how to be a steward of your future. You know how to sell real estate, you know how to go create something in your business that's profitable. Business is worth owning. A business by definition has more than one person, otherwise you're self-employed. And so business is worth owning is about how do you identify and attract talent into your world that will help you go further faster. And our nuclear weapon for that is a series called Career Visioning, 30, 60, 90, and Success Through Others. And we'll talk a little bit about the KPA and the importance of that. A life worth living recognizes that we're not just trading our time for money, that that you're a human being, not a human doing. And so your life outside of work is far more important than your life in work. And so we want you to make sure that you have that life worth living. The experience that's worth giving is the experience that we give to our consumers and that the Market Center gives to you as the agents. And then the legacy worth leaving is recognizing that I led with this morning, we have the ability to build a business that is saleable, that is an asset, that can generate revenue, that can buy other businesses, those types of things. When I sold my real estate team, the valuation was, I forget, it was like 1.12 million, I think is what it was. Like it was a database that was generating 240 units a year, and there was real tangible value. I was able to sell that and walk away from it. Okay. Legacy's worth leaving. Vision to be the real estate company of choice for a new generation of sales associates and real estate owners. Our values are God, then family, then business. And Gary says, God is that which you believe, whether you're spiritual or religious, there's space in there for all beliefs, all faiths. It's just the realization that we did not create ourselves and that we have respect and appreciation that somehow, somewhere, someone, some way we got created. But the genesis of God, family, then business came from Gary in the very early days. He was franchising the company and he would get on a plane and he would leave his family. And John is on that video. That's John Keller, that's John's son. He would go to these other places and he would come back and realize that he missed like key events in his family's life. And he went, well, why am I going to them? Why don't I just, if I'm paying for a plane ticket, why don't I just pay for them to come to me? And he reversed that. And he got to the point where not only did he reverse that, but Thursday was parent lunch day with your kid at school. And so every Thursday, he would have all these people that were coming in to Keller Williams International to talk about franchising and the opportunity. And he would tell them on Thursday at 11 o'clock, I'm going to go to the school and I'm going to have lunch with my son. And you're welcome to join me or not. It's your choice. Well, it's kind of a test because if they didn't join him, he did not believe that they believed in God, family, then business. And some of the people from back in the day, by the way, some of those are in that video, talk about that they would be like, oh, we're going to the school. And so they went to the school and they said, we literally sat in these little tiny chairs and drank the little cartons of milk with John while he had lunch with his son. So that's not just lip service, that's actually putting the priorities in place. This is Mark Willis. Mark was our CEO for about 13, no. It was longer than that, probably 18 to 20 years. Mark's held a lot of different positions in the company and was probably one of our most charismatic leaders in our company. And we had the opportunity to work with him for a lot of years. One of the things he says is we believe real estate is a local service business driven by the individual agents and their presence within the community. So what that means is it's not about Keller Williams. It's about you and your local connections, your database, the people that you know. And if we put that a different way, your role as a real estate agent is to create top of mind awareness, TOMA, such that when someone thinks of buying, selling, or investing, they just naturally think of you. And you have to over communicate and oversaturate over time to the point that they just go, hey, we need to call our real estate person and it's Kennedy. Is they think of you when they think of real estate. And so you're gonna learn when we talk about the MREA, the average agent in the MREA that was doing an average of 320 closed units a year, averaged 1,960 names in their database, a MET database. And so your MET database is your business. And if you think about it a different way, if you're a dentist and you go to sell your dental firm, what are you really selling? Your customers, yeah, the patients. I mean, you've got some fixtures and assets, but it's the database. Your business is exactly the same. So this is where every single day you have to wake up and go, I'm gonna build that database today and I'm gonna interact with it systematically, and we'll talk about how you do that. Mark says we believe in results through people, and we're a company that thinks like a top producer, acts like a trainer consulting, and focuses all of its activities on service, productivity, and profitability. This was my aha when I became a team leader. I was in the role about 30 days and I went, oh, I'm doing every single thing exactly like what I did in my sales team and in my sales business. It's just, I stopped lead generating for buyers and sellers and I started lead generating for agents that wanted to lead generate for buyers and sellers. I went, wow, this is the same thing. So your team leader is typically your largest rainmaker in the office. They're running a team just like you are, and everything that we do is a model. The chart of accounts that the Market Center uses is the exact same chart of accounts that are in the back of the MREA that we coach you to use in terms of your profit and loss statement and your balance sheets. Everything that we do is demonstrating to you how to run your business. We are in the exact same business you are in. And as operating principal, I stopped lead generating for agents that wanted to lead generate for buyers and sellers, and I started lead generating for leaders that wanted to lead generate for agents that wanted to lead generate for buyers and sellers. So I just moved one level to the side, and I still do the exact same thing. And acquiring talent is one of my biggest responsibilities. So we are a company that thinks like a top producer, acts like a trainer consultant, and focuses everything on productivity and service. We believe in a productivity specific environment. This is John Davis. John came after Mark Willis. John was a very controversial person in our company, both in a good way and in a bad way. Mark took us from 13,000 agents to 84,000 agents. John took us from 84,000 agents to 162,000 agents using something called the Growth Initiative. I had the opportunity this was actually my boss, for lack of a better term, when I was a team leader, and John was this big football player guy. And he was one of those guys that when you went and interviewed, he sat up in this Attila the Hun chair and he put you in this little tiny chair because he wanted to look down on you. I mean, he was just that kind of an intimidating guy. But he brought a series of systems and models that took our average team leader going from 9 appointments a month to going to 40 appointments a month. And there's a model just like the way if you were to go on 9 buyer or seller appointments a month, there's a conversion rate around how many buyers and sellers you'd work with. If you went on 40, what happens to that number? It goes way up. And so that's how we grew to the level that we did. And today we've got about 182,000 total agents worldwide in the company. He says the fundamental difference is most real estate companies operate under the belief that their associates are great because they work for a great company. Keller Williams believes it's great because it has great associates. And we believe that if we build the careers of our people, they will build the company. And he's spot on. It's interesting to think about when you look at, by the way, there's no bad companies out there. It's just what's the model that's right for the agent? Because there's people that like to go to fine restaurants. There's people that like to go to fast food. Neither is right or wrong. It's just what's right for that individual. We became the #1 real estate company in the world without ever spending a dime on national advertising, because we realize it's not our brand. And my aha on this actually happened when I was at Better Homes and Gardens. I was sitting at my desk one day and I realized I had like 3 coffee mugs that said First Realty Better Homes and Gardens. And the mailers that they gave me to send out to my clients every month was plastered with their name. And my photo and phone number was like this big on the back of the last page. And I remember looking at that and going, huh, I think my customer knows the company better than they know me. And then I got my 1099 back here. And like many of you, I very carefully kept track of my earnings and my GCI. And when I got my 1099, it was $84,000 different than what I had earned. Meaning I had paid the company $84,000. By the way, very successful as an agent at that time. Our average price was like 48,000 at the time too, by the way. So like that was a lot of houses. But I went $84,000. What did I give them $84,000 for? And looking at that, I realized I was actually paying my broker such that they could market their name to my clients in the hopes that my clients would remember them and not me. And I went, wow, my company's actually working against me. And that's how we started Burnett Realty. That's how we started our independent. And so this is where our capping model allows you to keep as much of your commission as you possibly can and use that money to reinvest back in your database, reinvest back in your 36 or 72 touch, because it's not about us. It is not about us. It is about you and your local relationships in your marketplace. Now, 2017 till now, I have seen more changes in the real estate industry than I have seen in my entire career. And by the way, when I started, we still had paper books that they printed once a week and they brought them to the office. And I remember when we went from the paper books to the first computer system, and like it was like crazy stuff.
One HUD key.
Yeah, oh yeah, one HUD key, and you went to every office to pick stuff up, and it was crazy. But our industry has changed precipitously the last 5 to 6 years. And in 2017, Gary looked up and realized that there's been this sense that the barbarians were at the gates my entire career. Like we're going to be put out of business, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. But Gary looked up and realized that the technological wave was probably the first threat that really, truly could disintermediary the agent and their customer. And so at that time, and the industry kind of made fun of us for this, by the way. He declared that we were no longer a real estate company, we were a technology company. And he did that because, like, to hire Google-like employees, you can't say you're a real estate company because they want to work for a tech firm. And so he went on a process of building proprietary software, which we now know as Command, that belongs to us and that protects your data. And at the time, it was very frustrating. It was clunky. It didn't work half the time. It was a long process. So I will admit that. And now that we come to today, we are the only company that owns its own data. Every other company's CRM is owned by a company that has the goal of putting the agent out of business. And it now looks brilliant what we did, but it was a long process to get here. Now, is Command perfect? Nope. And it's an evolving process, and it's an evolving product. There's things I love about it. There's things I'm like, could they just fix that? But they do update it. And so Chris is our chief technology officer. He says, we wake up every day asking, how can we empower agents to deliver a better consumer experience by driving down operational costs and building end-to-end transactions? And so Command is designed to be a beginning to the end transaction. You can start everything in it and you can finish everything in it, and then you can work your 36 touch through it. So it's all one spot. When I was an agent, I used Brivity. I paid about $1,000 a month for Brivity for my team. Command is $65 a month. That is a significant savings in my book. Okay. The way that Command was created was through the Labs project. Gary Keller has a black lab, so that's an ode to his puppy. They brought in agents and said, where would you like to click? What would you like this to do? How would you like it to look? Where would you like to, how would this feel? And so everything in Command was actually built by agents, not technology people. Because if you know anything about technology people, they come up with like ways to use stuff that you or I would look at and you're like, why did they do that? That makes no sense. So it was a labs process. Couple of other leaders to know, obviously that's Gary Keller, Chris, I can never say his name now. Cernecki, there we go, thank you. And I'm dyslexic, so that was really hard. Chris Cernecki is now our CEO. One of the recent changes, Keller Williams has always been a privately held company. And Gary snagged a massive do not call lawsuit and a whole bunch of other industry lawsuits. And so as a privately held company, there's only so far we could go and deal with some of the changes in the industry. So Gary did bring in a private equity group this year, Stone Point Capital, and they've brought an infusion of capital. They own Lone Wolf, which is a technology provider that Keller Williams also uses. So they bring a whole bunch of technology and other things to the table. We're still watching to see, so far nothing has really changed except that all of a sudden they have really deep pockets to do things that Gary had a little bit of a harder time doing. Now, by the way, the company's massively profitable. And when you're competing with real estate companies that have, $2, $3, $4 billion market caps because they're publicly traded, it changes the game a little bit. That said, when you're publicly traded, you're beholden to stockholders, not stakeholders. And Gary wanted to make sure that we were always paying attention to stakeholders. So if we pull the industry back a little bit and kind of, you remember the Wizard of Oz, like the man behind the curtain concept, we look at what are the types of real estate companies that are out there. And to understand this, again, is about understanding what makes us different. Real estate companies started with a dependent model. This was the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s model where you have a really big brand and the really big brand is going to make you successful because you're going to work for them. Century 21, the gold jackets, if you remember those back in the day. Yeah. The dependent model says you're going to be a great agent because we have this big brand. What happened over time is in the 80s, RE/MAX came out. And RE/MAX was a very independent model. And what they said is you know how to sell real estate. We're just going to give you an economic model. You write us a check every month to sit at your desk, and you get to keep all your commission. The challenge with that is agents started to realize really quickly that they were in business for themselves, but they were also by themselves. There wasn't that level of training and support and other things. And this is where Gary found that interdependent model, where instead of standing behind the agent, which this one kind of stands like, hey, I'm just back here. This one's I'm standing in front of the agent. Gary said there's an opportunity to stand next to the agent. And if you think about this like a restaurant, if you're gonna have a fish dinner, okay? This one, the chef delivers it to your table and it's got butter on it and all this stuff. You're gonna pay a lot for that. This one, the chef's like, hey, grab your pole. There's a fishing hole over there. The white jig is what I usually use to catch a fish, okay? Because you're gonna go do it yourself. This one is, hey, I tell you what, we're gonna take the fishing pole, we're gonna go out together, we're gonna catch the fish, we're gonna show you how you always catch fish, we're gonna show you how to cook it so it tastes just like this, and we're just gonna do it with you at a much lower cost. That's the example I give for an interdependent model. So the company sits on the same side of the table, worried about the same thing. Now, there's an opportunity for agents because some people really like this model. Some people like paying 50% commissions and having everything done for them. Some people like, I wrote a $2,600 a month check to sit at my desk when I worked for an independent company, and I have to keep 100% of my commission. I just found when I got to be in this, it was much more of a fit for me. And we have about 184,000, 182,000 agents that believe that. But that transition came between 1983 and 1987. And this was that period of time that I said Gary was going through all the changes in his life and his marriage and everything else. And he realized he wanted to take broker support, the teamwork, a focus on training that was in traditional, married that with the high commissions, autonomy, and business attitude in the independent, and then add world-class training, consulting, bottom-up decision-making through our ALC. Any decision that affects our agents goes through the ALC process. Open books, formalized input, and profit sharing. We used to give about 48% of every dollar of profit back to our agents. Because the margins have changed, Keller Williams, the ALC internationally revised that program, and now it's about 25 to 35% that goes back to the agents. But the 21st was profit share day, and I woke up to my phone and I had $1,165 that got deposited into my account from profit share. So it's a real thing. I've earned about 100 and they say the other day I looked it up, 134,000 in profit share, simply because I attracted a couple of agents to the company, and over time they've attracted people. I think I have 138 people in my profit share trade. I think I recruited 4 of those. Okay, so profit share is a real thing. We talked about independent dependence and interdependence. A little bit of history of this office. Previous OP acquired this. He had been a Remax agent from Colorado, and back in the 2006, 2007, 2008 days, there was a syndication they put together. Someone had the kind of a genius idea of, let's buy a whole bunch of offices and let's put it together with one investor group. But what happened is, in the downturn, when everything went backwards financially, they were kind of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and there was money going back and forth, and it all became a house of cards and it all collapsed. And IEV, the company at the time, went away. They closed a bunch of offices, they consolidated a couple of offices, and this office was actually a consolidation of 2 other offices, one from downtown and one from up north in Bradenton, that became the previous office that was Keller Williams Select. So you'll still see some of that now, Coastal Living too. I came in 2019, and it took until 2021 or 2022 to finally get the purchase. It was a long process, and we had COVID in there and all that. So 2010, we moved to the old 8210 Lakewood Ranch, and then 2024, we moved here to this location, partially thanks to the hurricane and partially thanks to other factors. This is what makes us unique. We're focused on education. We believe that when we can brighten or sharpen your saw, that's how we win. And so it's education first, then it's culture, a culture of caring and sharing, a culture of integrity, do the right thing. Our belief system really comes into our culture. Sharing decisions, allowing agents to be able to say, hey, I see an opportunity here. What if we did this? What if we did that? We truly care what you have to say. And I always say, if there's a fire, call the fireman. And the fireman's either me or Rebecca. If there's something that isn't working, if there's something that you see that you're like, we could do that better, speak up. We really value that input. We have open books, so you have the ability to see our financial statements and see how much money we have in the bank and what everyone gets paid. All of that, it's all open books. And I think that's important because I remember our consumer facing fee, that's our $249 fee. I remember when my company implemented that back in 1998, I think it was $75 back then. So do the math on inflation. They said, well, we need to implement this fee because we're not making enough money. And so me being me, I said, well, how much do we make? And they said, well, we can't tell you that. And I said, well, why can't you tell me that? And they said, well, we don't tell you what we make. I'm like, yeah, but you're asking us to be part of this. That didn't feel right. So I really appreciate the fact that we have formal budget transparency. When it comes to open books, there's no secrets, budget accountability and business accountability. And we're a part of the North Florida region where we have an operating or a regional director by the name of Georgia Alpazar. Georgia has a long history with the company, and I actually worked with her in my last region in the Greater Heartland region. Georgia is a strong advocate for super clean financials, super clean books, and is a zealot when it comes to following our financial models. And if we're a penny over on something, she's like, hey, we need to fix that. So you have people outside of our organization that are paying attention and care. to understand what's different about the leadership team in an office, in a Keller Williams office versus traditional real estate. Traditional real estate, you typically have the broker owner that is the person at the center that everything else kind of revolves around. So they're kind of the sun. The challenge with this is what I said with our company was our broker, who was the majority owner, when he got tired, everything started to wane. It just kind of pittered out because he was a spark plug that had to keep everything happening. So when you think about RE/MAX, when you think about traditional real estate offices, this is what this looks like. So despite the fact that I'm the owner of the company, I'm not actually the broker. We have other people that are the broker. We have other people that are the team leaders. And this is what the leadership model looks like in a market center. So you have the operating principal that, for lack of a better term, would typically be kind of the chairman of the board in a traditional company. You have an operating principal that comes together with investor partners to be able to share in the risks and the rewards. The OP brings the money to the table, brings the vision to the table, and brings the talent to the table. So those are the three things that I do in my role. The OP then hires a team leader. The team leader has really 3 functions in their job description. And by the way, team leader is the pathway to opportunity in this company. And I mean that sincerely. When you master the team leader role, the things that you can do get really big, really quick. The 3 things that they do is they coach, train, and consult with an emphasis on the top 20%. They grow the market center in production, okay? So they're here to make sure that you do more business, and they grow the market center in terms of agent count. And then the last thing that they do is they're leading the executive leadership team to deliver the value proposition that you guys expect and deserve. So they're in charge of everything. And at the end of the day, the buck stops with me and the buck stops with her. But that's not the full extent of the leadership model. This triangle, you have the MCA, which is the financial individual. And we have an opportunity in this space right now. We have an MCA that oversees the staff, the financials, the operations, that delivers value. And then you've got the ALC that focuses on growth, culture, productivity, and profitability. So all of those together are what create the leadership cycle here, where in this model, it's all about this individual. Okay. I said earlier that we're a company of opportunity. And so when we look at the different ways that you can go, you can be an agent, you can grow a mega team, you can go into agent leadership council, and ALC is really a leadership development cauldron. Just like what you're doing in WCR, it's a place where we invest, we teach them how to be business people, we teach them how to hone their skills because we want them to grow the biggest businesses. You can become a mega agent, you can participate in profit share. From the mega agent, you can go on to be a team leader, you can go work inside of a market center, you can become a productivity coach. My probably the best productivity coach I ever had when I was a team leader, she was a $22 million producer and she just loved helping the agents. I knew I hired the right productivity coach when I hired her, and I looked out the door and there was a line waiting to get to her office to sign up, and people that didn't even qualify for productivity coaching were like, but I'll pay you. Okay, that's great. You can do expansion. You can actually expand your footprint into other areas. You can own market centers. You can own closing companies, title companies, mortgage companies. We're in the process of launching our mortgage company. We signed our first LO yesterday. He signed on the dotted line, so we're a go on that. That's going to be an opportunity for you as agents to buy in and own that company. You can go on to be an OP and own companies. You can become a MAPS coach. This is the pathway that my wife took. She became a MAPS coach in 2016. So she coaches agents all across the nation. She gets to work from home. She's filling in as a team leader right now. So she's, having to go to the office currently, but she's coached agents from doing like 20, 30 units to over 500 units a year. So that's an opportunity. You can go to work at KWRI or work in the regions. There's leadership opportunities in there. You can become a KWU faculty trainer. So you can go teach. When I'm on the road teaching, I get paid anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a day for teaching. You can interact with worldwide, and then of course you can go on to do other things on multiple other entities inside Keller Williams. This is a playground for high achievers, and it starts with you having a great agent business. That's the hallmark of being able to go on to anything else. Kennedy, you want to just introduce some people?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So as you can tell, this is Brian Wentz. He's the operating principal of the Inglewood Market Center and the Lakewood Ranch Market Center. He does so many things and wears so many different hats. And he touched on a few things that he does do, including attracting talent, making sure the right people are in the right places. He also helps his leadership team achieve their goals and what we want, and make sure he knows all of our goals. So again, he is kind of the man behind the curtain, making the Market Center's world go round. So a lot of the things that he does is not things that you guys always see, but he handles a lot of the headaches, a lot of the liability, the legality parts of it. But also up here it says providing the vision and focus for the Market Center, hiring the team leader, staff, accountability to our goals, and the bigger picture issues along with the team leader. Okay, so Miss Rebecca Adams. She is the team leader at this office, as you all know. And she does a lot as well, but the top 3 things that a team leader is responsible for is managing staff, recruiting talent to this market center, and then along with a few other things like consulting and training the top 20% in the market center.
By the way, the QR codes up here, if you scan those, if you do not have our contact data in there, you'll be able to save our contact card. So if you don't have one of us in your phone, scan the QR codes.
Think y'all better have me.
Alrighty, so let's move on to Murray Coleman. He is our broker of record. I don't know how many of you guys have interacted with Murray, but he is a delight to be around. And he is so knowledgeable about this industry, and he is absolutely somebody you want in your corner when you're dealing with all the contract questions, all the funny deals between agents, clients, and he is your go-to for that.
I have a question. Does he come into this office?
I'm gonna add, he does, he's the broker for 14 Keller Williams offices.
Yes.
But
So
Murray was a Green Beret. He was a high stakes hostage negotiator.
Wow.
He's an attorney, and he loves being a broker. And he literally, when we first sat down, he said, "I want you to understand, I turned my phone on at about," he says 7:30, but it's really on about 6:30 in the morning. He said, "I turned my phone on at 7:30 and I shut it off at 8:30. And my goal is to answer that phone by the second ring anytime an agent needs anything." So make sure you have his contact card in there. You can text him, you can email him, you can call him. He has an entire staff that supports him. Sally, his partner, is also an attorney, so she can help with like legal, you have to craft the laws or something. She can do that so that you stay out of real estate jail.
He's amazing.
He is amazing.
I respond literally 2 minutes on a text.
Yep.
Great.
Well, and that's all he does
Yep.
is a broker. So he doesn't run his own business, you know what I mean?
just
He
works on
sales,
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't have to wait for response.
No,
It's amazing.
it's very rare that he doesn't get back to me within like
Yeah.
2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, as many agents as he is over. Again, every time I call him, he has never not answered one of my phone calls.
Yep.
And that is his job for you guys. So if you have a contract question, reach out to Murray, email, text, every medium that Brian mentioned. And that is what he's there for. On to Miss Shannon. I think she stepped out.
She went to get your lunch.
Yes, she did. So we'll thank her for that. But what she does, director of first impressions. So obviously, this title I love, instead of like front desk lady, director of first impressions, right? So when people, your clients, agents walk into the market center, they're greeted. As we all know, first impressions are important. And so I think she's a perfect person to have in that role, and is another resource to you guys. So on top of greeting people and managing and helping out with certain projects that we have in the market center, she is also a great resource for general market center questions. So if you're like, great, I don't know, I have this question, I really don't know who to go to. It's not a technology question. It's not really a contract question. She is a great resource to start with. If she does not know the answer, she will get back to you with the answer, even if she does not know it. So yeah, point person for general needs. On to Heather Wentz. I'm sure you recognize that last name. This is Brian's wife and also the current interim team leader down in the Inglewood office. So her and I work very closely together every single day. She's amazing. And like Brian said, she wears a lot of hats. She is still coaching her agents as a MAPS coach, but also stepping in to fill a need in the Inglewood office to help manage staff, help with projects that we have going on in our market center. And the reason we included the other market centers leadership team in here is you guys get to benefit from that being a part of the Coastal Living family, right? So there's no secret, we have 3 offices, Siesta Key, Lakewood Ranch, and Inglewood. Any trainings or leadership members that we have on our team, those are resources available for you guys as well. So
You'll all be able to meet Heather next week. She's coming up to teach a class next Friday, 1 to 3 here.
yes,
Amazing class.
very. She just taught it last month in Inglewood and the turnout was amazing. All of our top producers loved it. It's about career visioning and the myths with career visioning. That's hiring your first admin, adding a buyer's agent to your team, so on and so forth.
And it doesn't matter where you're at in your business.
Yep.
This is the class to figure out the why behind everything.
Yep.
And if you want a fulfilling, impactful career.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Rebecca. So she mirrors a lot of the things Rebecca does. She helps in growing our office. She helps managing staff, and just an amazing resource with a lot of expertise. She consistently sold over 100 units in her business year after year. So she is a girl boss and she's wearing many hats as well. So she is in our Inglewood office until we find the right person to step into our team leader role down in our market center. This is me, if you can't tell, and I'm actually in the same dress that I was wearing in the picture. Yep, yep. So, a director of agent services. I kind of have my hands in a lot of different cookie jars. So I'm also a great resource for Inglewood. But again, like I said, I am in this market center oftentimes if you're teaching, and a resource to you guys as well. If you ever need anything, again, we're one big Coastal Living family. So down in the Inglewood office, I am in the recruiting role. I am helping agents, especially newer agents. I'm onboarding them and mentoring them usually through their first 100 days. We don't leave you high and dry, but we always say your first 3 months in real estate, it's like drinking from a fire hose. So we are there, especially me, to help these new agents transition. Along with a lot of other things, I do our training calendar, I do y'all's training calendar as well, stepping in and helping out with that, along with being in the classroom teaching as well. And same thing, I'm the go-to for most market center questions. If you're not sure who to go to, most people come to me. And this right here is important as well. Your leadership team, most of us, we are not in production. Most of us have been in production previously, and we have just stepped into our next role. Like Brian mentioned, instead of helping buyers and sellers, I now get to help agents achieve their dream lives. And for me, that is so much more fulfilling. And this is truly the path I'm meant to be on. And agents, anybody in here, that is also a possibility for you, a path in leadership.
Can I just say, if you guys take her QR code, get her contact info. If you're working down in the Venice Inglewood area and you need an office,
Yes,
she can have
absolutely.
you come in and, you know, work out of that office. If you need directions on how to get there, they're launching their brand new office here soon too. So we're gonna be able to go to their
The Inglewood office got completely wiped off the map I mean, it was, that building looked like a bomb went off. And so we've been in a temporary location for 2.5 years. We went from 8,400 square foot to about 1,000.
Yeah, we call it Camp Keller. Yeah, it's we're squeezed in. So having a training room is actually nice because ours is in our lobby currently.
Yeah.
So we make do. We're grateful for the space. But we are excited to have our new market center. But yes, if you guys ever need to meet a client down in that area, or just need a space to work, you are more than welcome to reach out to me and I will reserve a space for you in our office. All right, on to Miss Lynn. We love Lynn. She is just an angel. We adore her. She has been with the Inglewood Market Center for, was it over 21 years now? Yep, so she knows everybody, and she knows everything. She has been a part of the ride for many, many years now. So she is also mirroring Shannon, our Director of First Impressions, along with Project Coordinator, which again, covers a few different things, but she does our opportunity time, which is desk duty, for our agents. She oversees our market center vendor program. And again, she is an amazing resource for our agents to go to help with different questions that they may have. Okay, so this is actually an opportunity, and Rebecca, I'm sure you could speak on this as well, but this is the MCOM role, the Market Center Operations Manager. There's a few things that fall under this position, including it is a leadership position to support agents, overseeing physical operations and systems. And then what you would go to them for is DAs, your disbursement authorizations, opportunities and command billing, financial questions. They're kind of a liaison between the MCA and being in the market center, being an actual breathing physical body in the market center for you guys to go to with questions about checks, compliance, stuff like that. Anything you want to add about this being an opportunity?
Yeah, so they would basically be in charge of like the oversight of like running the market center and your go-to for finance, or I need this or I need that. Anything not me, and growth related and stuff. So we are looking for that person, absolutely.
And if you guys ever know of any talent in any role that you're in, sometimes people can be very successful team leaders, for example, and have never done anything in real estate. Sometimes it's just a personality that people are really attracted to and they're good with people. So if you ever know of anyone that could step into a role or that you think could be a good fit, send them to Rebecca and we'll see if they're a fit. Okay, so next, Miss Rhoda. So Rhoda actually lives in the Philippines. She is what we call a VA, a virtual assistant. She helps a lot with compliance, DAs. If you have a question about a DA or an opportunity in command, she is a great resource for that. The best way that I have found to get into contact with her is by email. She is very responsive, even though it's nighttime over there. She is great at monitoring her email, and her email is actually compliance@redleverage.com, not Red Settlement. So if you jot that down, make sure it's at redleverage.com. But she is an amazing resource for that as well. Miss Cherie, I'm sure you guys know her. So she is the Director of Career Development, other names, productivity coach, could also be that as well. So she is coaching and consulting for all new agents. Again, standing by, walking beside new agents when they get their license to help them through their first few deals. And as somebody that was a new agent at KW Roanoke in Virginia, my PC coach, me and her were like this. She saved my butt on a bunch of different things. And even this just is such a testament to leadership teams. My PC coach, I was on a trip, I was actually in Miami for my birthday. I had the listing agent refused to make lender required repairs for a VA loan. That's illegal, by the way. I was not there to make these repairs. These clients were not going to be able to close on their home. They were in Arizona. I was boots on the ground for them. And as much as I wanted to get in there and tell this agent what I thought about that, I reeled it back and I did not. My broker, my PC coach stepped in. They helped me in the communication. And then my PC coach drove 2 hours one way to meet my father, who is just an amazing man, but also just very handy. And he made those lender required repairs, and we were able to close in the nick of time for these veterans to buy their dream home after retiring out of the military. So your team, the people behind you, matters. And that's such a story of that. So Cherie is a great resource for that. Brad, I know all of you know Brad as well. We love Brad. So he is in the Inglewood Market Center Wednesday, Friday, and every other Monday. I'm sure you guys know he is here every other Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So a few things that fall under his responsibilities. So his technical title, Business Growth Advisor, Market Center Tech Trainer falls under that. So that means questions about command, questions about DocuSign. He is who you would call. Even if he is not in your market center, if it's a Wednesday or Friday, he is still available to you. Just because he is not physically here, he will answer your phone calls, emails, text messages, and still be there to help you guys. A few other things he does, he has his Money Mondays. If you guys haven't tuned into his Money Mondays, they are amazing. And he is about to start a series on AI. So that would be a really great one for you guys to participate on. And then again, a few other things that he does. He is in the recruiting role as well with me. in the Inglewood office and in the Lakewood Ranch office. So he is a great resource for that and just golden retriever energy. So we love having his energy in the office.
That's true.
And then Miss Abby, you guys heard her earlier talk about all the things that she does, and she truly does so much. I was actually in the office, what was it, 2 weeks ago? And she was on the phone with the title company tracking down one piece of information for one agent for an hour and a half. That agent was able to go out, write contracts, lead generate, go on showings. Those are things real estate agents should be doing and focusing their time on, right? So Miss Abby was able to help that agent and track down that piece of information for the agent in this office and give them an hour and a half of their time back. So if that is not a testament to all the things that she does and can help you as a resource, then I don't know what else will. Okay. So Ashley Sanders, so she is Brian's equivalent in the Siesta Key office. So she does many things over there. Again, Siesta Key is our sister market center. You are able to use their location. Again, they are part of our coastal living family. So you guys can, if you have a client over there and need to meet for a consultation, you guys can absolutely reach out to their leadership team and use their office space.
They're moving next week too.
Yes, we're all moving. It's you know,
Part of the way that we all became the Coastal Living Collection is when Inglewood got displaced. The name Keller Williams Gold was just a horrible name. Now, by the way, Lynn came up with it, so I can't tell them that. But the names were just outdated, and so we decided that we were going to become. Well, we decided we were going to change the name. When we started to write down the names, the first one we put down was KW Coastal Living. And everyone was like, that's it. And I was like, no, it's the first one. We need to get like 10. And they're like, no, that's it. And so I tried to get to like 5 or 6, and they're like, stop, it's that. And so then when this office heard that name, they're like, we love that. We'd like to be the same name. And I'm from another state originally where you can't have the same name. And I said, you guys can't do that. And George, our regional director, said, yeah, you can. You just put a 1 or a 2 or 3 behind it. And when Ashley heard that Ashley was moving also because the neighbor next door was a dermatology clinic, and they got sold, and they went from like 5 customers a day to like 50. And the chemicals they were using were making their agents sick. And so they had to, OSHA said, you need to move out of this space if the landlord won't fix it. And so as we were collaborating and talking about how do we create a bigger opportunity for our agents, she said, we want to be Coastal Living also. And that's where the Coastal Living Collection and Coastal Living 1, 2, and 3 came from. So it happenstance, and yet it all worked out extremely well.
Thank you for that, Brian. And then also in the Coastal Living 3 is what differentiates them, but in the Siesta Key office is Miss Elise. She is their MCA. So cutting checks, getting staff paid, handling all the money stuff that I do not like handling. She's amazing at that. And she's just a great resource. So the reason we included all of these people, again, they're a resource to you guys. Even if they're not in this office, in the Lakewood Ranch office, they are still available to you. And that is just what increases with the 3 offices and doing the Coastal Living Collection. You can go to any trainings they have over there. So you can get their training calendar, see what they offer, and attend their trainings because they have different agents, different leadership team, different investors, different ALC in their market centers. And it's just, again, an additional resource to you guys. And I think that's all of the leadership.
Okay, good job. Give her a round of applause. Good. All right. So where I was from in Iowa, I had the opportunity to launch the Des Moines office. Then we launched the Ankeny office. We launched Sioux City, and then we had Clear Lake and Okoboji, and we owned everything. And so the culture of how we operated was we were one unit operating with one heartbeat. When I got to this market, I'm gonna just be really candid and transparent. Are you guys okay with that? When I got here to this territory, all of the OPs fought, bickered, sued each other. I went to the first OP meeting in
Keller Williams.
In Keller Williams, and but there's a positive story in this. But there was just a history here that was like, wow, what is this all about? And when I first got here in 2019, early 2020, I think it was, there was a meeting of the OPs and I said, I love this. I love that we all get together. I said, how often do we do this? And they all looked at each other and said, well, the last time we got together was 2006. I was like, oh, so I called Georgia and I said, Georgia, I said, we have a problem with what's going on here. And in true Georgia fashion, she said, well, Brian, you're a leader, go fix it. And that was the genesis of wanting to bring together multiple market centers so that we could operate as one heartbeat and we could operate together. And I just believe fundamentally that when we are one KW, we are stronger for you, we're stronger in the marketplace, there's more things that we can do. And that is where the Coastal Living Collection came from. So we've made tremendous progress and most of the people that were the problem children have retired. So like, bye-bye, glad to see it. So a couple of other companies, we've talked a little bit about Gulf Coast closings, Echelon Home Loans. This has been 18 months in the making. So yesterday when our LO signed his employment agreement, we were high-fiving and cheersing last night over this. This is a truly scalable bottom-up, ground-up mortgage operation that we are bringing to the table. We've capitalized it ourselves. We are going to capitalize it. We are going to bring it to profitability status. And once we do, we're going to, through a private placement, allow our agents to become owners in the company and receive a fairly sizable percentage of the profits of the company. My goal, part of my vision is that each of our offices have 300 agents. A part of my vision is we want 100 of those agents doing 18 or more units a year. So we want the average agent to be doing 1.5 units a month, because I fundamentally believe that your rent comes due every month, your mortgage comes due, your car payment, the college for your kids, all that. Fundamentally, our agents should be empowered to have at least one closing a month. And when the average nationally right now is 3.6 a year, that keeps me up at night. I don't like that stat. So that's why we want the average to be 18 units. The third part of that is 100 teams in our organization doing 100 units. So 100 teams at 100 units. And I always ask the question, why do we teach Ignite 12 times a year and we only teach provisioning once a year? That's kind of backwards. So growing a team is something I'm very passionate about, because two things. One, it gives you freedom and flexibility, and two, your customer service goes through the roof and you will make a lot more money and you'll have a lot more fun doing it. So Echelon, part of the goal with Echelon is to offset your cap. My goal is to zero out the cap for our agents through ancillary businesses so that you can create passive income and actually get paid to work here, not even pay us. That's just, I'm a big believer in creating horizontal streams of income. Gulf Coast Home Group is our teamerage that Wayne's been involved in, that is a part of the future of our industry. And it's still, when I said that things are changing, our industry is changing and how we serve our agents are changing. And this is a pilot program to create teamerage where the brokerage creates leads for the agents. Okay. Wow.
We are not normal people. Normal people wouldn't choose a career like this. The highs and lows, the go, 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 all out all the time. You know the way normal people act when they've had too much coffee? We wake up that way. And then we actually have coffee. We smile. We're positive. We're encouraging. We're full of energy and enthusiasm. Never say die. And onward to the next listing. And we'll find that perfect house. We'll find that perfect buyer. It's out there. It's out there. It's out there, I promise. Don't worry. I'm here for you. Here for you. Let's do an open house. I understand you don't want to drop the price. No, of course it's not too early to call. No, it's not too late to call. Sure, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. Sure, we can do that. Because we can do anything. And we love it. But it's exhausting. Of course, we can't show that because we're not normal people. And that's even more exhausting. We chose this career for one simple reason. We're all crazy. We're the people that encourage normal people when the housing market is slow. We're the ones who keep their spirits up when they get down. We make them happy. Our success comes from their success. That's what makes this crazy. Our success depends on things we can't always control. Sometimes the planets have to be in alignment. And make no mistake, we're out there moving those planets. We move heaven and earth for our client. And we make it look easy because that's what we do. But when we run into things we can't control, it makes us crazy. Sorry, crazy. The slow market is a slow market. We charge the storm because we're KW. But the thing is it's gonna be wet. There's gonna be lightning and thunder, 1,000-mile-an-hour wind. It's gonna be hard to keep going because somebody said if we charge the storm, that's the fastest way. And that's true. This storm is huge. We're wet and we're exhausted. Sometimes we're only smiling on the outside. We get tired of being positive all the time. And so we rest. We recharge. We do something weird that makes us feel all strange inside. We actually take care of ourselves. Take a class, a course, level up, plus your games and strategies, study the models, skip the coffee and go straight to happy hour. Let one of your cell phones go to voicemail every now and then. Take another class, coaching, training, talk to people. Talk to people you don't have to sell, you don't have to encourage, you don't have to convince that things are wrong. Because they're not. But don't ever let yourself start to believe you're like anyone else. Because that's not you. That's not us. We're crazy people running through a storm who think we're bison. Why did the bison cross the storm? To get to the other side. The weird thing is, everyone in this room, that makes perfect sense. Because we are not normal people.
Roy Vaden wrote a book, and in the book, he talks about how most animals, when a storm comes, they walk with the storm and they just keep getting wet. Bison actually charge to the other side of the field when a storm comes, so they get through the storm faster. The storm that they're talking about is the market that we've been in for the last 4 calendar years. We're bumping up against about 3.8 to 4.2 million residential home sales. So historically, we virtually have never gone below 4 million home sales, even in the 80s. And so when we look at where we are, through 2021, 2022, we were bumping up around 6.2 to 6.8 million home sales. And we went from that to off a cliff to 3.8 million almost overnight. That happened in June of 2022. If real estate feels hard, I'm going to be honest with you, if it feels hard, it's because it's never been harder than it is right now. When we look at the number of units that are happening, the last time we had that low of unit sales was 1995. But since 1995, the US population, through just births and natural legal immigration, we've added 72 million to the population, not to mention any other that may have shown up otherwise. When you do the math, that means that we are currently in the most challenging real estate market in US history. And when rates went up as fast as they did in June of 2022 or in 2022, the last time that rates went up that fast was 1981. So we're in a challenging time. Now, does that mean you can't succeed? No, it doesn't. No, you can succeed. There's still 4 million consumers out there that are transacting. There's still business to be had. There's still people that are having children, that are relocating, that are getting divorced, that are getting married, that are graduating from school, all the things that precipitate our industry. So this is the time to hone your skills. Heather, my wife, got into business in 2008, probably the second worst time in history to come into real estate. I got in the 90s when we were in a recession in the 90s. when you learn how to sell in a difficult market, when the market turns, and it will turn because everything is a cycle, you will be prepared to take massive market share. So this is the time to dig in, build your database, go double down on your lead generation activities, make your connections, hold the open houses, study your industry, be a student of the market, because this is your opportunity. And I just saw, despite the fact that interest rates still want to bump up against 7, if we can get rates down to closer to 6, we need probably 2 Fed cuts, and we need a little bit of softening in the jobs market to see this happen. When rates come back down to closer to 6, I want you to think about a fire hose that just has a kink in it. When you unkink the hose, what happens? That's what is going to happen. We can't tell if it's going to be Q3, Q4 of 2025, if it's going to be 2026, Q2, Q3. We can't tell where that's going to happen, but it will happen. And what lies ahead for us is probably somewhere between 4 to 8 years of probably the best real estate market that we've ever had in the history of the real estate market. And I say that because we've had anywhere from 1.2 to 1.7 million transactions that should have occurred over the last 4 calendar years that did not. That's an entire year or more's worth of historically high sales units that still haven't happened. So
These numbers, if I may, these numbers are used when you said we, you mean the country or just Keller Williams?
That's a great question. Economists, the think tanks. I spend,
Country, okay, that's what.
Oh, are you talking?
The country or just?
Yeah, this is US resale.
Okay, that's what I.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Residential existing home sales, yeah. So you're in a time where you just have to weather the storm. So just know that if it feels hard, it's because it is. And by the way, it's hard on the brokerage industry because we've seen our margins cut in half and we've seen our unit counts cut in half, basically. So be aware of that. We're gonna have some lunch here in just a couple minutes. So I'm gonna real quick touch this. You are a part of the North Florida region. The North Florida region is kind of the circle there that you see. We go all the way up to Jacksonville. We go down. Inglewood is on the Cape Hayes. The Cape down there is kind of the tip of the market, and we go up to Tallahassee.
We're Tallahassee.
Yeah, we go up to Tallahassee. So you'll hear us talk about the region. Keller Williams is organized in 32 regions. There's regional leadership teams. That just gives us a local leadership structure that we're accountable to. Got a little over 7,500 agents. And when we have regional events, you'll hear us talk about a North Florida event. These are typically higher level events that we're bringing in. Typically they are in, they've done a good job of bringing them back to Tampa. They're typically either in Tampa or Orlando. You do have to drive a little bit to get there, 2 hours on I-4 usually, which is not always fun, but well, it can be 4 hours the wrong time of day. You are correct on that. My region was 5 states. So sometimes we had to drive like 8 or 9 hours to go to regional events, and yet we would pack up. We'd pack up the SUV, we'd mastermind on the way there and make a great trip of it. So I'm gonna pause here for a moment so that you guys can have a restroom break and we have some lunch for you, and then we will just kind of reconvene. We'll keep this kind of short. So I'll give you some instructions on lunch. I'd love to hear 2 or 3 ahas. What have you heard? What did you not know? What stood out?
I'm new, as you know, and I've been in sales and media business for 25 years.
Yep.
I'm a lot older or whatever, and real estate anything new is kind of daunting. But I think the thing that I can sell, I can talk to people, I can cold call, but it's learning the new systems, the the command, like you said, could have help, or Roy marketing start. And that, because I'm older too, is daunting to me. So instead of just digging in every video, I'm not embracing it at all. So I'm reaching out for help.
Yeah.
Whether it's you or you said you helped train,
Alone.
because it's just, I want to get out there and sell, but I want to.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna tell you my personal opinion on this, and I'm probably gonna surprise you a little bit when I say this. When I was an agent, I didn't even have the password to my CRM. And if I would have tried to get into it, my staff would have said, get your grubby hands off that, don't touch it, go sell a house. And what I mean by that is, it is important to know those things. Now, by the way, did I have a CRM and did I use it at a high level? Yep, we sure did. It's just, I hired people to do that for me. And until you get to the point of hiring, Abigail can put you can just give her a contract, this deal's done, here it is. She will put it in command, she'll create the opportunity, she'll do all that stuff for us. So don't feel bad about that, because again, it's a process, and I stepped out of leadership for about 2 years. During that period of time, we went from E-Edge to command, and I came back and I went, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So I'm sometimes in the same boat on learning that stuff. So good, thank you for being honest on that. And what's most important is that you keep selling.
Yeah.
We'll help you with the other stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know. You've been great. It's just the good part is like.
Two more off us. What'd you hear? What stood out?
Well, for me, innovation. I think Keller Williams is, for me, traditionally thinking selling the house, buying a house, sign, finish. But I think what I hear today is, Keller Williams is one step ahead of everybody. Innovation, how to make agents work easier. That's relief for me. So
Good.
Yeah.
We're gonna go
Yeah.
deeper in that because we're still kind of up here and we're gonna come down. That's good. One more.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
So I got my MREA book in 2021. Is there a new version of that book?
So that's a great question. The answer is yes and no. Gary has done all the research for MREA 2. He will write it. It will come out. But what he found is not much changed. The organizational model that you see on page 202 has changed, and he's released that to us. We have the new organizational model. But when Gary gets asked about the book, Gary's kind of he's a DC personality. We'll talk about this here in a little bit, but he's a DC, which means he's very demanding and he's very accurate, and there's no personality sometimes in there. When someone asked him about the MREA 2, he said they're not even following the damn MREA 1 yet. So when you do that, I'll write the second book. And that's how he shut that conversation down. The only two things that changed the organizational model and the way that the 36 touch operates, it's now more of a 72 touch. Okay, yes, Shannon.
I would say an aha for me is to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And that was kind of my perspective. If we can master this market, look out when it flips around.
Yep.
And so I definitely think that we should probably take this time to learn the key factors, the things that are most important. Narrow those few things down and focus on those, and just continue to educate yourself and learn.
Yep.
That's
it. You do have to have the long game perspective right now. And
it's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, good. All right. So Shannon, you coordinated lunch, so can you tell us what we're gonna do?
All right, we have sandwiches and chips and sodas, so we can just kind of form a line and get your stuff and let's go.
Okay, so we'll take about 10 minutes, let you grab your food, come back in here, bring your food back in here, and then we'll work and eat together.
Oh my.
Good. All right, so we're gonna keep diving back in. If you guys need to clean up, if you need to go to the restroom, whatever, don't hesitate. We're gonna move kind of fast through some of this material, so we make sure we get it in. So this is Mo Anderson. Mo is the cultural leader of Keller Williams, and Mo was the very first hire when Gary hired Bain Hinion, a consulting company that worked in personality assessments, and you're gonna learn that Keller Williams really believes in behavioral assessments or personality assessments that help you understand how you interact with the world around you. He hired Bain Hinion to come in and consult, and he paid him a $250,000 consulting fee, and when Bain came back with the results, he said, I have good news and I have bad news, which do you want to have first? And he said, well, give me the good news. He said, the good news is your check cleared the bank. He goes, well, what was the bad news? And he said, the bad news is you have to fire yourself. Fundamentally, you're the wrong person to be leading this company.
Wow.
And here's the behavioral profile of the person you need to go find. And by the way, to fulfill your vision, here's the 4 other hires you need to make in order to go fulfill what it is that you want to do. And so Gary looked around and he found Mo Anderson. She was running the #1 most profitable Century 21 office in Edmond, Oklahoma, which happens to be where my wife was born, ironically enough. But in Edmond, Oklahoma,
Oh, I'm fine.
and he recruited her to the company. And as Mo tells the story, she was only ever on the phone with him, and so she didn't realize that he was like 31 years old, and Mo was definitely a senior at that moment. And so when she talks about being picked up at the airport, she says this little young kid comes pulling up in a kind of a crummy car, and Gary never cared about kind of a car he drove. And she's like, you gotta be kidding me. This is Gary Keller. This is not who I thought I was talking to on the phone. Gary tells a story that he says, make no mistake about it, I am the lifeblood of the company, but I also would not have a company if it were not for Mo. Mo was also the regional director and the owner of the offices that Heather worked with, and a business partner, the Southern lady do not answer, that called me for so many years. She was from Tulsa, and she's actually how I met Heather, ironically. But Mo is, we call her the Velvet Hammer. She is the sweetest lady you could ever imagine. And when she wants to wallop you, she will wallop you, and then she will just call you darling and smooth it over. But she can throw a punch. Let me put it to you that way, in a good way. So she is who developed our belief system, which is win-win or no deal. We call this the Y4C2Ts, or if you're Gary and you've got the Southern accent, he calls it the Y4C2Ts. Win-win or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first. Commitment in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. This is about models. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all, that was added. Success results through people. We're still waiting for the new artwork to come out. Keller Williams was between the artwork of the old and the artwork of the new, so we will have these things on the walls here in the office. This is not something that we put in a desk drawer and we tuck away and we pull it out of the company meeting once a year and go, wait, what are our values again? This is truly how we as an organization act. This is what we believe. This is the sticky glue. And part of our story is that when we launched our first office in Des Moines in 2011, 2012, I said that there was an ironic twist in that company that I had gone to career night with. When we launched Keller Williams in Des Moines, it was traditionally a very 50-50 market. In other words, top producers run 50-50 splits, 60-40 splits. We were bringing in a 70-30 cap model. We were a $22,000 cap there. We're 18 here, but agents routinely would make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 more just by coming to Keller Williams. And of course, that competitor did not want us to succeed. So when we launched the office, within an hour, there was this guy that showed up to the front lobby and he said, Doug Burnett, Brian Wentz, like, yeah, that's us. He goes, you've been served. And it was a notice that said, welcome to town. We're so glad you're here. We just want you to know we have 44% market share and we will not be paying you a commission on any transaction that you bring a buyer to on one of our listings. And by the way, here's the part of federal law that allows this to happen. Whew. We just launched an office. They had about probably 83% of new construction market share and 44% of total market share. And we're not going to get paid a commission. What do? How do you approach that? This is how I became a team leader. Our team leader, her exact words were, she said, I'm gonna peace out, this is gonna be too hard, and she went back to the market center that she came from, up in Washington State. I had just written the biggest check I'd ever written, and I kind of drafted myself into the team leader role. I didn't even know what it was, if I'm being honest. They're about 30 days in, I was like, I didn't know I was in charge of that also, like, I didn't know that. But your greatest obstacles become your greatest opportunities. And as an organization, we leaned into win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing. We had the opportunity to not show our buyer clients their listings. But is that integrity? No. The irony is when we told the customer we're not getting paid, in many instances, they just went to the listing agent and bought from them. So we lost the transaction and we lost the relationship. So we couldn't really talk about it there. And so there's a statement, Peter Drucker says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I'd always known that statement, but it wasn't until I lived it and really got to see what happened when you live the culture. And so our Des Moines office, for about 3.5 years, we're not paid commissions on any transaction that we did with that company. Brand new agents, first transactions, walking away with nothing. By the way, NAR at the time said, well, you have to pay them $1. So they would send us a $1 check, and we still have the stack of checks. It was over 1,100 transactions that we did not get paid on. But this is the culture of Keller Williams. Mo Anderson, and you're gonna see this in the video, Mo Anderson found out about it. When we first started, we created a program, I called it the Agents Winning on Inspiration. The name of the company was Iowa, IOWA, and we were the opposite of them. So it was Agents Winning on Inspiration, which was their name backwards. We created something called the High Road Commitment, and we gave it to every customer. We said, we're gonna do the right thing, regardless of whether we're paid or not paid. We don't care. Serving you is what we're here to do. And the 3.5 years that we fought that battle, when Mo Anderson found out about it, again, she's the Velvet Hammer. She had us at family reunion at the inspirational breakfast. Inspirational breakfast is where grown men are reduced to tears and like have like hinkies on their face because we're crying just like everyone else. It's these stories, these cultural stories of our company that are just unbelievable. Well, we were the cultural story that year. And she declared that we were going to start something called the Family Fund. And the Family Fund was going to be where agents could donate from their then green sheets, now from their opportunities, to a fund that would help make us whole. And she declared that day, today in this room, we're gonna make you whole. And I think that Mo is one of those people that kind of has the hotline to our creator. She's kind of in that like she's just got a spiritual energy about her that's unusual. When it was all said and done, after everything was accounted for, we'd been without for about it was about 11 months, I think, at that point. We ended up, you're gonna see the check says 107,000 and some, but it was actually 147,000 that we had lost. It was 25 cents short of the exact number needed to make our agents whole. And my MCA at the time, she had these little Coke bottle glasses. She goes, oh Lordy, we're a quarter short. She reaches in her pocket. She goes, you guys are made whole. True story. Okay. So I want you to understand the market can be tough. You can have tough competitors. You can have all these other things that can happen, and you can still go win. By the way, this is going to be the many faces of Brian because you're going to see younger and hair.
That we were dealing with, if they were challenging, but I will say.
Oops, 2011, what did it say?
Here we go.
The issues that we were dealing with, if they were challenging, but I will say I have never seen a group of people that came together like the Des Moines group.
I love a challenge. Don't tell me I can't do something.
We banded together, we worked together.
The culture and people of Des Moines, I would say, are good Midwestern people, like you would expect.
They are a salt of the earth, outgoing, friendly, wonderful community, very family oriented.
We were launching Keller Williams in kind of virgin territory. There weren't any other Keller Williams that were anywhere close nearby, so we were a relatively unknown name, unknown. We were still Keller Food at that point. Certainly, anytime you're bringing a new product to the market, you expect challenges. You didn't expect to have this level of adversity early on.
I guess in my mind, I expected it, not really maybe to the severity that they did, but yeah, I expected to be challenged on getting any kind of compensation.
From the $1 to the legal troubles, all of it, I mean, it weighed heavily, very heavily.
In my position, I had the unique ability to speak with a lot of agents on a personal level about all of their struggles they were having. You know, whether they were experiencing medical bills, they were trying to pay for their children's tuition, or just trying to put food on the dinner table.
Watching agents come off of a transaction where they had that euphoria almost of finding a great house for someone and feeling really good about getting through the process and then walking away and then asking how they were going to pay their bills, basically. You knew something had to happen.
One of the things we were able to do is create a local fund. So we were able to give our associates about 25% of the commissions they would have received. So they were getting something.
I was really excited. I was one of the original ALC members from the very beginning. And so we knew, I mean, in those very early ALC meetings, we knew that we needed to do something to help people, to be able to make a car payment, to be able to do something.
I think it was a really neat atmosphere to walk into and see everybody unified. I think it actually helped bond the office together, and to walk in and feel that unity, I think, was really cool.
To tell someone that's thinking about joining you that they're going to get something when they have one of these sales, to not get an entire commission is a difficult thing. Those were times that we had to ask ourselves some hard questions about how long we could sustain that. And with the advent of the family fund, it was just the most remarkable example of culture. You never could have suggested to me that something like that would happen.
Today, in this room, we are going to make you whole.
And then when they said we were gonna be fully reimbursed, it was really nice to know that I've gotten involved with a company that truly cares.
It was amazing to see this great big family become a small family and take care of this little place in Des Moines, Iowa.
My experience that day, what I really thought to myself is I thought the cavalry has arrived. To experience 80,000 associates coming to your rescue, people that don't necessarily know us, strangers who are willing to flip into their pockets and contribute so that we can continue to do the right thing and take the high road. It was an incredibly powerful experience. It's really hard to put something like that into words.
There definitely is that look of determination and desire whenever a check was received, that we had to get through that we didn't want to continue to receive benefit from our peers, even though it was overwhelmingly gratitude.
When we found that there was a settlement, there were lots of cheers and there were lots of tears because it was very emotional.
We get focused on the outcome of not having to have the family fund in Des Moines anymore. It was such an amazing feeling to make it go away. And to play a role in that, as hard as it was for 18 months, it was pretty cool.
It was great fun to walk through the office and start to hear the buzz And then it got louder, and then there were hugs, and there were high fives, and there were cheers, and everybody was just looking for someone else to talk to about it.
As we've gone to company-wide events, everything from, oh, you're from Des Moines, let me hug you. Let me support you. How can I help you? So many offers of support from everyone.
The entire Keller Williams family, we just like to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
To everyone who supported us, from our international leadership to our agents in the market centers, donated on their green sheets, the MCAs who have helped support us, and the team leaders and OPs. I just want to say thank you. It's amazing what your gift has given our market center, what we've been able to do. And thank you for the honor of being able to distribute those checks to our agents.
Yes.
So that wasn't KW Cares, what was the name of this fund?
The Keller Williams Family Fund. It was the Family Fund, yes. This class, by the way, was written because not more than probably 2 or 3 months after, we ended up receiving about $2.6 million from the Family Fund. Over 3.5 years. Betsy said 18 months. That's because that was a mother-daughter. The mother was one of my investors. She was one of my ALC members. They had left the company. They actually got personally sued. And so not only was it a corporate lawsuit, they were convinced that they had done something wrong, and they had not. They were she was the head of the real estate commission, and just to make sure the integrity. And so they got pulled into it over an 18-month period of time. But I had an agent that showed up, and he had his DA, and he goes, literally walked into my office when I was team leader. He goes, I don't know what this $10 is for the family fund, but I'm not paying it. I went, oh my Lord, we just spent 3.5 years finding a battle in 6 months, 3 months, whatever. It was a very short period of time later. We haven't talked about it. And so we don't know the story. So it was its own fund, and you'll still see, there still are places that you will see the family fund show up. What was interesting was that that picture was Mark Willis and us. He had thrown out a poker chip when we were on our way to becoming the Triple Crown, and we had bet that by December of that year, we would be #1 in agent count, units, and volume, and he threw it out into the audience, and I just happened to have caught it that day. And so at family reunion, the next family reunion, we had actually overcome our issue, and we had that framed, and we gave it to him as a gift. And when he saw us in Austin here, at the last FSO we were at, he said he still keeps it up in his office because it was symbolic of us overcoming our challenges and us becoming the Triple Crown. And when he got off stage that day, by the way, Casey was that Southern lady, do not answer in that video. And we own 7 businesses together today. So like we've had a great run. I'm glad I answered her phone call. But when he got off stage, Mark said, he said, look at you two. He said, this is what I love about this company. He said, in the bottom-up fashion, you single-handedly, and it wasn't really single-handedly, but you single-handedly galvanized the culture of Keller Williams in a bottom-up way that I, as the CEO of the company, never could have done top-down. Now, the reality is it took a village. We had one person in Keller Williams that has asked to remain anonymous that sent us his profit share check 1 month. He sent it to Des Moines. He said, please deposit this to the family fund. I don't know where to send it to. It was over $17,000 1 month. Some people gave 25 cents. Some people gave like that. That's culture.
Can you share what company's was?
Yeah, it was Iowa Realty. And at the time they had 44% market share. Today they have under 9.
What does Des Moines have?
Des Moines, we are at probably 16%, something like that, 16-18%. I mean, they're doing 2,400 to 2,600 units a year, so it's pretty. They had 600 agents, so we had 314. So, yeah. Okay, ALC. This is Mary Tennant. She was former COO. The ALC is our decision-making body in our organization, and they are who we take financial decisions to, growth decisions, profitability decisions, culture decisions. So every month there is an ALC meeting that is every month there is an ALC meeting that is a business meeting. and attend those. I encourage you to come and pay attention. We talk about things that are important, things that are happening. We talk about financial things, we talk about opportunities, all those types of things. Kennedy, you're gonna say something?
No,
Okay.
no.
So ALC is selected by the team leader from the top 20% of associates. They're servant productivity leaders. They're the keepers of the culture and synergistic team builders. They're a limited democracy, meaning that they can't make every decision, but they make any decision that directly impacts the agents. But they don't do coffee pot issues. So if it's, hey, we need to buy better coffee, like we don't have to take that through the ALC. But when we, like, for instance, when we rolled out our administrative compliance fee, we did that with the ALC so that they understood why we were doing it and what had changed and why our competitors were doing it and we were at a disadvantage. They're learning-based, business smart, high class of ideas, low clash of egos. And again, the ALC is a little bit of, I'm gonna call it teacher's pet, for lack of a better word. They're the people that, especially in my days as team leader, I rooted for every one of my agents, but I had a very special relationship with my ALC because we really wanted them to succeed. And I remember one day when a group text went out and one of our ALC members said, hey, I need help. Can you guys help me? And he was struggling in his business, and the entire ALC showed up at like 7:30 in the morning, sat in a conference room and coached the agent, the ALC member, through the challenges that he was having in his business. And that stickiness of the ALC, that's the heartbeat or the core heartbeat of a market center. So KW Cares is our institutionalized version of our culture. KW Cares came out of the need, recognizing that as the company grew, there were going to be tragedies, things like the family fund, but that was a one-off, unique thing. In our region, we had the Joplin tornado, and if you guys remember, Joplin got literally wiped off the map completely. And if you think about the wildfires, think about Joplin, you think about the hurricanes, when all the houses you're gonna sell are no longer standing, there's no money to be made. And there was no power, there was no electric. KW Cares has trucks and trucks and trucks of inventory sitting in warehouses strategically staged. By the way, I convinced them to let us store some of the stuff for a future hurricane in one of our storage units over here so that we're a little better strategically than we were in Ian. But they have trucks that when disasters happen, they roll into town hours later, and it's pretty incredible. Being candid, KW Cares has been hit with so many natural disasters. They typically have anywhere from about $6 to $9 million in the bank. People can apply for life-altering grants, which can be very large grants. They can also apply for smaller emergency grants, which are typically $5,000, I believe. We've had, since I've been the OP here, we've probably had 30 to 40 of our agents that have had either emergency or life-altering grants. We've had people with cancer, we've had people that had surgeries, people that had accidents. We get to see those on the backside. If every agent gave $10 on their closings to KW Cares, we would never have a deficiency with KW Cares, and we'd be able to continue doing everything that we could do. Personally, in my business, I gave $100 to KW Cares on every closing and $100 to KW Next Gen, and we'll talk about what that is.
Can I just say real quick?
Yeah.
So for Moe Anderson's birthday this month, and I've shared it with you guys, that we've been charged 2 raises a market center, $888 in honor of her 88th birthday. So far as an office, we've raised 300 of the 888. Once we hit that by the end of the month, she will coach our market center for free. She'll give us a coaching session for free, which
she doesn't do those very much
now.
anymore.
That's worth way more than 888. Yeah. So I'll send a link out, and I'm also gonna link on the slide at the meeting as well. So a little bit, we all contribute just a little bit, we'll get there.
Yeah, and if you want to learn about Mo, she wrote a book called The Joy-Filled Life. She grew up a tenant farmer's daughter, and she ended up creating massive wealth in her lifetime. She also built this unbelievable house. The month they were set to move into it, it got hit by lightning and burned down, and they had to completely rebuild it. And just her story is an incredible story. So, yes.
We had lunch with her, so.
We did have lunch with her, yes, you got to spend time with her. That was,
She's quite amazing.
she is.
And listen to her speak at that.
I forgot you were there, that's right, the ALC clinic.
Hey, Brian, do you mind really quick? So you guys in command can go in there and set any commission check you get. You can set a fixed amount, $10, $100, so that you don't forget. 'Cause sometimes we forget and, oh, KW cares, we haven't donated to them, but you can go in there and do that. If you have any questions about that, reach out to Brad. And he can show you how to do that in command, so that you're donating with every check you get.
It's unbelievable what $10 does for that organization. The wildfires, we had people that lost family members in the California fires. We had people that lost everything, and that's Maui, same thing. I always say that KW Cares is for when you have an emergency that happens that's out of nowhere. KW Next Gen is the exact opposite. It's the emergency that you didn't even realize you were having. And our training, 6-person perspectives, business training, business planning clinic, all these classes, we have these people that say, man, I wish somebody would have taught me this when I was like 20. Gary Keller heard it so many times that he charged the company with creating a separate nonprofit that would go back and teach 18 to 28, now 18 to 30-year-olds how to lead an intentional life, get off autopilot, how to discover your mission, and how to surround yourself with the right people and build the right habits. And the organization started off as KW Kids Can. It was a horrible name. They changed it to KW Next Gen. I've had the honor and the privilege of serving on the board of directors for the nonprofit since day one. I shared this on the OP Inner Circle the other day, but I grew up in a crazy environment, and it was like the neighborhood was filled with guns and gangs, and it was a crazy childhood. Somehow early on, I looked around and realized, well, you were on the call, Julian. I kind of jokingly say I was surrounded by entrepreneurs. They just all sold illegal products. But somehow intuitively, I realized that there was so much untapped human potential in these people that had just settled. And I was at a very young age, and I'm talking like 5 or 6 years old when I had this awareness. And so I became really passionate about helping people experience their best life possible. And the genesis of how this occurred was I had a client who had invited us to go to an event in a little small community around there. We'd sold him a bunch of homes over the years, so like we had that kind of relationship. When we're driving to the event, I'm driving down the road, and he happens to say, he goes, "Hey, I drove through your hometown. You mentioned where you grew up at. I drove through your hometown." And I'm going, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Yeah, we pulled out the phone book and we looked up your name, and there's only one of you in that town, and we drove by your childhood home. Is that where you grew up?" And I said, "Yeah." And all he said was, "We didn't know." All he said, "We didn't know. You'd driven through the neighborhood. Looked exactly like it did when I lived there." I was mortified. My worlds had collided. I was very successful at that point, and I was embarrassed where I came from, if I'm being honest. Over time, I started to think about it. I started to go, wait, hold on. How did I go from there to where I was at that point? Like, what happened? And I realized there was a class that I had attended that had changed how I saw things, and it was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade that I attended it. And I got to a spot where I was like, you know what? Part of my mission is I want to go help back and help a kid that was where I was understand that they can get to where I am. And when you put the energy out in the world, it's crazy what comes back to you, because it was not a month later at Mega Camp, Gary Keller stands up and says, "We have a vision of teaching young adults that their circumstances don't dictate where they can go in life. And we're gonna ask for volunteers to be a part of this organization, and it's gonna be called KW Next Gen. We're gonna go out and teach Quantum Leap to 11 to 17-year-olds and 18 to 28, now 18 to 30-year-olds. We raised $65,000 for the launch of KW Next Gen. I am a certified master QL instructor. I've taught, I don't know how many thousands of kids Quantum Leap, and I've taught it in 5 countries. So I've been able to teach it in Belize and Dubai and South Africa multiple times. And this is the reason I tell you this is A, you have the ability to get involved as an instructor. You have the ability to get involved and contribute on your green sheets. This is also a lead generation tool for you, because if you have people in your database that have young kids, kids don't want to listen to their parents, but you can become third-party validation, or you can leverage when we teach the QL classes, the QL for young adults. You have the ability to market to your database and say, hey, we want to give back to the community that gives to us. Please, if you know someone 18 and 30 that could use a boost in terms of figuring out who they are and who they need to be surrounded with, you can bring into the class and leverage us. I have stories that would put tears in everyone's eyes in this room, but one of them was when I was teaching a session of it at lunch. I had a young lady that stood up and she said she was 23 at the time. She had 3 kids at the time, and she worked 3 jobs, and she is bawling. And she said it's the first time anyone had ever told her in life that there was more to life than working, paying bills, and dying. No one had ever told her there was, like, she could craft her future. Funny story is, I did not realize that I was still friends with her on Facebook. And when my 10-year anniversary came up with KW Next Gen, I had posted her story. And she saw it. And she posted back. It's still on my Facebook page. She posted back and she said, that was the turning point of my entire life, was the day in that classroom. She said, I went on to completely change how I saw my opportunities. I went on to completely change what I taught my kids. I met the man of my life. She posted a photo of her and her 4 kids, because they had another child together, at Disneyland, Disney World, whatever's in Orlando. I get them all mixed up.
Well,
Yeah, thank you.
California's the land.
Yeah, Heather gives me crap on that all the time. But she had posted, she said, I never in a million years thought I would ever be able to even afford to bring my family here. And this is like, I owe all of that to that one day in the classroom. That's good stuff. So KW Next Gen is pretty incredible. Okay, let's talk about some Kellerisms. So kind of like the military, we have our own language here at Keller Williams. So some things that you'll want to know that you'll hear us talk about. Cap date is the date that your company dollar cap resets each year. Your anniversary date is always the month following the month that you joined Keller Williams.
What is our cap date for here?
Great question. It's your cap date is different for each agent because it's set based on, for most agents, it's the month after the month that you joined.
Oh, that's your cap date.
That's typically your cap date. Now, Keller Williams operates in a revenue cap model, meaning most traditional companies, if they take 20, 30, 40% of your compensation, they take it from everyone and they take it all year long. Because we're revenue capped, we're a high volume, low margin company. When an agent caps, we don't receive any more company dollar on them. So we do something called cap management. So when we hire producing agents, we will strategically put their cap in a month where we need that income so that we have consistent income all year long. And then the new agents then come in and backfill those back products, the back dates. Our economic model is that cappers cover our expenses and everyone else's profit and profit share. That's kind of how the Keller Williams model works. Royalty is the 6% franchise fee that's paid by associates. It also caps after 3,000. So you cap on franchise fee at 50,000 of GCI and company dollar at 60,000. It's really important to know Keller Williams is not someone will say, well, it's a 70-30 split. It's not. It's we have to refer to it as being an effective split. When my team was earning 1.44 million of GCI, we were only paying like 54,000 in company dollar. When you do that math, we were like at 97%, like we were paying like 3% or less to the company based on still being a 70-30 split and capping it, in that case, at 22,000. So my point on that is that if you're a $2.4 million producer, you're on a 70-30 split. If you're a $5 million producer, you're actually on about an 85-15 split. If you're a $10 million producer, you're probably on like a 95-5 split. So you gotta remember it's an effective split. We don't ever want any agent to disproportionately overpay the company. And again, I paid over $80,000 to my broker when I was a new agent. Like, that makes me sick. A capper is someone who produces sufficient GCI to contribute the full cap each year, and company dollar is the money that comes in that we operate on. One just point of order on this. There sometimes is a sense on agents' parts that they don't want to turn a deal in until it's official. I'm gonna just kind of like gently grab my soapbox and stand on it for a moment. There's two reasons why we need deals turned in immediately. It's 24 hours for deals that happen during the weekday, and it's 72 hours on the weekend. One, we're required to maintain compliance files on every file, regardless of if it closes or not. And the number of times where we have issues that it gets to Murray, and Murray's like, we don't even have a file on this. I can't even tell you how many times. And usually the agent goes, well, we didn't know if it's going to come together, and it fell apart in inspection. Well, we need those turned in because we still have to have those files. Two, we also, because we're a revenue cap model, we close our books every single month. So we do 12 times a year what most companies do either one time a year or 4 times a year. They close the books, they close the quarter. We close it every month. Money in, pay the bills, what's left, profit share goes out the door, and we do it again the next month. So what happens, Inglewood was a great example of this last month. We started the month and we had like $14,000 on the books and company dollar, and it cost us like $45,000 to operate. We're going, whoa, what happened? Where is it at? Well, by the end of the month, we had like 65,000 because agents just did not turn transactions in, and they're like, oh, this one closed, and then here's my paperwork with it. That gives us heartburn. So please turn your files in within 48 to 72 hours. Put them in there. If they fall apart, great. We also want them because we want to be able to do a post-mortem and understand. Oftentimes there's the same reasons that files fall apart. And when we see a theme, then it lets us bring up a training class for that. Transmittal is the end of the month process where we package all the books up and we send it up to Keller Williams. And this is, in these offices, we are hiring an MCOM, Market Center Operations Manager. Some of you remember Lewis was here. Lewis was doing the financials and the operations, and that's always traditionally been the role of an MCA. However, someone that's great at financials, that's also really great with people, those are kind of almost an oxymoron. And so we have moved to a centralized accounting system. So we have 2 MCAs that are remote that do all of the closings, do all the financials, and then we are backfilling the Market Center Operations Manager, who will work with the agents, work with consulting, handle the physical aspects, but they don't have to be good at the financials because it's hard to find someone that's good at both. So we're actively hiring that right now, and our goal is to have that person in place as soon as we can find the right talent, and that's the challenge sometimes. But within 30 to 60 days, we'd like to have that person in place. Transmittal is that end of the month process where we have to account for everything, send it up to Keller Williams, and close the books. What's important to know about transmittal is that Keller Williams has every single piece of data dating back to 1987 in a system. So unit counts, transaction patterns, where people move from, where people move to, all of that data lives in our system, and they're using AI to data mine that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes that will benefit you with long term. But we're the only real estate company that does that. And so the data that we have, this is why Gary can be so forward thinking in things sometimes, is because we've just got all the data that no one else has. Okay, customers want to do business with you. So we're going to dive a little deeper in this. They want to do business with you and you specifically, and you're the brand. And so we want to stand beside you, not in front of you when it comes to marketing. And to that extent, we encourage you to be your own brand. Now, We know that some people don't want to mess with that. We know some people don't want that, and that is where the Coastal Living Collection came from. We've created a brand. You can see the signs that are out in the break room. We've created the brand. It's got the what's the bird?
Flamingo.
The flamingo. That's a brand stamp. But we've done that for a number of reasons. But behind that, Holly, who is our director of marketing, she is working on the listing presentations, all the marketing materials, everything that has a unified brand strategy, so that if you're not wanting to have to go recreate the wheel, you can take our stuff and you look like a high, what's the word? You look like a luxury brand, even as an individual agent. And Holly is a creative genius when it comes to that stuff. Sometimes we have to tell her to land the plane, but she's good. So one item on this that I really want to impart on this is that Gary showed a slide a couple of years ago, and I keep it on my phone. 72% of customers say that they would use the agent again in the future. But the reality is only 12% actually do. And that's because the agents don't do a good job of staying top of mind awareness through their 36 or 72 touch campaign. Gary has a slide that he shows that over 10 years, he's got some built-in assumptions of how much is repeat and how much is new business. At is it year 10 or year 15? I forget. It's either year 10 or year 15. The difference in the 72% using you again and the 12 that do is the difference in doing 125 units and doing 1,200 units. It was a 10x. So your business is your database, and understanding how to interact systematically with those Met contacts. On our team, we had a database of just a little over 700 Met contacts, and that database was producing 135 closed units every year straight out of the database. We were at a 19.2% rate of return. It works. So embrace your 36 touch. And one trick that I give you on your 36 touch, if you take a calendar, I go to calendarlabs.com, I print out the yearly calendar. If you circle day 1, day 10, day 20, day 30, by the time you get to the end of that calendar, you're going to have 36 dates circled. Each one of those dates represents something that you need to do to interact with your client on that date, and then you just get to choose. So January 1st, I always send out a market update of, hey, here's what happened in the real estate market last year. My 36 touch, I kind of ripped off and duplicated there was a guy in Omaha that asked for referrals all the time, and he had these kind of funny slogans. And I went, well, I'm just going to rip off and duplicate what he's doing with my database. So the St. Patty's Day mailing, we would always use the same envelope, so our clients always knew it was us. We did this for 20 some years. We did this like it was the same thing every time. But in there on St. Patty's Day, they got a little postcard in that envelope, and it said, wishing you the luck of the Irish on this St. Patty's Day, hoping we're so lucky you'll send a buyer or seller our way. We're being very overt. We're looking for buyers and sellers. We would put a $1 scratch lottery ticket in there. The next one said, if you know someone thinking of buying or selling, give us a call. We'll stick with them to the very end. And there's a stick of bubble gum in there. The next one said, the spring market is popping. The spring market's getting hot. Something about popping. If you know a buyer or seller, let us know, and we'll help them in this heated up market. There's a little mini bag of popcorn in there. So we like to have fun with them. Don't send chocolate in July because the post office will get mad at you. We would do 9-volt batteries by the way, most people don't actually need 9-volt batteries in their smoke detectors, but it still works at daylight savings time. Hey, here's a 9-volt battery in case you need to update your smoke detector. Those are the types of things that when you interact with your client systematically and you layer it with evidence of success, which is, do you know a buyer for these homes? Do you know a home for these buyers? You build top of mind awareness with your customers that, hey, you're in real estate, you're having success, and they start to think of you when they think of real estate. The other part of that is that there's 30% attrition in our business each year. So every year, 3 out of 10 agents get out of the business. death, relocation, career changes, all these other things. If you become the number 2 mind share position with your consumers, so if there's an agent that they know and there's you, if you overtouch that agent, they may go, well, I don't even know if that agent's in the business. I'm just gonna call you. Or you've got a 3 out of 10 chance in any given year, which over 3 or 4 years means you got about 100% chance that agent got out of the business. And now you're the agent of choice. So it doesn't matter if they know someone right now, you just have to get to the number 2 position. Does that make sense? Good. One other thing I'll say on that is it's really important to segment your database. So when I say segment, so in our business, we used A+, A, B, C, and D. And I think that's my calendar, sorry. The A, B, C, D, what we would do is your A's are the people that send you 1 lead, 1 referral every single year, year in and year out. And to be able to stay in the A list, they need to still send you a lead every year. You interact with them a little bit differently than you interact with your other people. Your B's are your people you have a great relationship with, and you're training them how to send you business every single year. Your C's are your current customers, and you're priming the pump with them to say, hey, just like when you bought a blue car and you drove it off the lot, and all of a sudden you saw blue cars everywhere, you're buying and selling, you're going to hear of other people buying and selling. And I find that most of my customers refer at least 1 person to me during their transaction. You're getting them their RAS ready for, hey, I'm going to refer somebody. Your D's are you need their information, otherwise you delete them, but there's a reason you still need them. And at the whole top of that funnel is your A+. Your A+ are the people that will send you more than 1 lead every single year. I had a sheriff's deputy that needed 52 pieces of business over the years that we worked with him, because he would just refer people every year. He referred 2, 3, 4, 5 people to us. So we treated the A+ as completely different. And if you think about it this way, in the MREA 1, so to answer your question on this, MREA 1, they saw about a 12-to-2 ratio, which meant for every 12 names that you marketed to 36 times a year, 1 of those people would raise their hand and say they were ready to buy, sell, or invest. And 1 of those people would refer a coworker, a family member, someone else too. So it was 2 transactions for every 12 names. Today, it's closer to 10%. That was a 16.6 rate of return. Today, it's a little closer to 10% because agents undertouch their customers, and there's just a lot of noise out there. It's a little harder to get the message across. But if you think about a strategy where you do 5 open houses a week, and every open house you meet 2 people, you gather their information, you get their name, address, city, state, zip, phone, email, and their story of who they are and what they would be looking for, you're going to put 10 names in that database a week. So this is, maybe you don't even have a database. You do that for, let's call it 48 weeks of the year, you've got 480 names in that database. Over time, it takes time to interact with them. By the way, some of those people are going to buy and sell immediately, especially when rates drop. But over time, that 500 name database has the ability to generate anywhere from 50 to 83 units a year when you market to them right. And the marketing to them right is 36 to 72 individual touches. So when I told you that, get that calendar labs and circle day 1 through 10, day 20. If you circle day 1, day 5, day 10, day 15, that actually takes your 36 touch and turns it into a 72 touch over the course of the year. Now you just decide, what am I going to send? How am I going to interact with them? When am I going to call them? And then you write down the side, you do the database too, and you have an entire lead generation strategy that you can rinse and repeat that will produce hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for you. It's not rocket science. Profit share. We treat our associates like business partners by sharing the profit with the people that help grow the company and create the profit. So when you interact with people in your database, when you interact with people in the community that would be great at sales, you have the opportunity to say, hey, have you ever explored a career in real estate? And refer them over to Rebecca. And two things happen. One, that lets us help more people, and two, you get to start participating in profit share. And profit share, we've given back. We're right at $3 billion that we've given back as a company. I think we're at 2.9 billion. We've given back to our agents through profit share. That's real money. The number one profit share earner in the company, Gary had challenged them. Yeah, Jim and Linda McKissick had challenged them to make profit share a part of their GPS and their lead generating. And now they earn
1.6 million
a year, 1.6 million a year in profit share that shows up in their mailbox. So profit share is a real thing. My Des Moines office went all in with this, and it is the most incestuous office you've ever met, because when you're like, hey, how did you end up at this office? I'm like, well, I bought a home from Rochelle, and then she called me about this career night, and I came in and I joined, and now I'm selling, and now I've got this other client that I sold a house to, and now they're in business, now they're an agent in the office, and it's quite comical because we have so many people that were our clients. There's a lot of sales professionals out there that can't make 100K doing what they're doing, but they can in real estate. Servers at restaurants, Uber drivers, like there's a lot of people out there that you can put in your profit share tree and help grow them and help grow their business. The important thing is when it comes to profit share, you don't do the recruiting. You just say, hey, would you talk to Rebecca? We do a needs analysis with them to ask them, what are your goals? How much would you like to earn? How would that change your life? And we're showing them the pathway to get there.
Yeah, and if I can just, a little testimony. So I joined Keller Williams for another brokerage in 2008, and it wasn't for profit share yet. 6 months of being in Keller Williams and seeing just in that short amount of time how my business changed after 9 years in a previous brokerage. So I just started sharing, saying, go talk to my team leader. Don't say no until you know what you're saying no to, and I'm not attached to the outcome, but just offer yourself this opportunity. So to date, I think I've received just over $150,000 in profit share by having a 1-minute conversation and passing the buck. It's kind of like, and I liken it to, like, if I go and have a great meal and have a great server at a restaurant, I'm gonna tell all my friends. So if I know people that are in this industry or would be great in the industry, why wouldn't I share the opportunity? We're not forcing them to do anything, but it's the best investment I've ever made in the conversation.
Well, there's agents at every company out there that are struggling right now, and we have answers to solutions that they don't even exist. That was me. We went from doing 50 units a year to doing 240 units a year just by understanding there was a model that we didn't even know existed. And I ended up making millions of dollars because someone picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, would you be willing to talk to Keller Williams? So profit share goes 7 levels deep. We have the statement that if you build your first level, time will build your profit share deep. And as I said, I think I recruited in my first line 5 or 6 people, and I looked the other day and I had 140. It's 138 or 140 that I had in my profit share tree. So one of the greatest gifts of this at an ALC clinic that Mo Anderson did in Kansas City one year, there was a guy and he had saved a message, and he asked Mo, he said, can I play something? And he gets his phone out. He's got the microphone and he puts it up. And there's a guy that had called in from Seattle, Washington. And he goes, hey, Mike, this is Joe from Seattle, Washington. He goes, my family, we had some really tough times this year. And I was very grateful because profit share really got us through. And he said, I've never met you, but when we got through this, I wanted to kind of thank the people that helped create the profit share for me. And he said, I looked, and he said, most of the people in my profit share tree, I think this guy was in his 3rd level. Most of the people in my profit share tree are people that you brought to the company. And I just wanted to say thank you for helping our family through tough times. And I hope to meet you someday. Like, oh my. Profit share is a real thing. We don't talk about it as much as we should, to be candid, because we used to spend a lot of time talking about it, and we just don't talk about it as often. So there is a calculation on how profit share works, and profit share flows through 7 levels, and there's a calculation on that. Your biggest level is in level 1, and then it goes back to level 7 because we want to incentivize it going deep. At the end of the day, though, you're just helping people. You're helping people to find answers to their solutions. That's all you're doing. Training. Keller Williams became the #1 training organization in the world, and I think it was 2011, 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. We won that award so many times that the organization that does this survey, and this is an international survey, they they came to us and they said, we get it, you guys are good at training. We're going to create a Hall of Fame. You're now in the Hall of Fame. You can't win it anymore. And by the way, we're the only company that's ever been put in the Hall of Fame. We won it 5 or 6 years in a row. And
It's
so
across all industries.
and it's across all industries. So our commitment to training and education is extremely high, and that's why you see on the training calendar such a large number of classes. Now, that can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing, because sometimes you're like, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to come to, or what have you. And we organize our classes into 4 levels: launch, growth, achievement, and legacy. Launch are the things that just get you off the ground. Growth is once you know how to sell, now it's how do you accelerate. Achievement is now how do you put the foot on the gas and grow through people. So with teams, with KPAs, with hiring staff, admin, what have you. And then the 4th level is legacy. It's now that you have money, how do you protect it? What do you do with it? How do you grow it and let your money grow? So you're gonna see, this is David Norberg. David was homeless before he came to Keller Williams, by the way, and today he is a multi-millionaire. He says Keller Williams is a shining example of it's never too late to learn something new. I truly believe in this ongoing learning process, because if you're just coasting, you can only be coasting in one direction, and that is downhill. He has a great book, by the way. Everything that we do is based around Keller Williams University. KWU has, they have, I believe it's 14 or 17, and I forget the number currently, course writers that have master's degrees in adult learning or curriculum development for adults. So they don't just like willy-nilly toss something in there. There's a lot of thought put into the KWU classes. We have around 140 different KWU curriculum classes that we teach and that you can teach. And when I was a team leader, any consultation that I had with an agent, you guys have seen, when you were on Zoom yesterday with me, did you see that kind of my desk, that credenza back there? I don't know if you noticed that in there, but that credenza keeps every single class that's in the Keller Williams curriculum on it. When I was a team leader, when we consulted, anything that an agent was struggling with, we helped them with it. And then I would pull that part of the material out and I would say, I want you to come into the classroom and teach it. What you teach, you master. I am literally standing here today because I started teaching the economic, the lead gen model. And they're like, can you give us more of that? And I kept teaching it. And then that's how, when I said I'll be the team leader, they're like, yes, we want him to be the team leader. So study the MREA, go teach it. We're doing the 24 topics of the MREA with our staff right now so that they can learn and master it. Come be a teacher at the front of the classroom. We will deliver a train the trainer if you need some skills on delivering classroom content. But whatever you teach is what you will master. So KWU is knowledge for doing sake. It's action-based knowledge. The 6 personal perspectives is the fundamental course that every Keller Williams University class in the early days, well, every class, because it's Gary, every class was 5 days. And the first 2 hours of every class was the 6 personal perspectives. And what happened was Gary would teach this and people just started showing up. Instead of 9 a.m., they started showing up at like 11. And so they said, Gary, we get it. We know all that stuff. And they stopped teaching it. And then a couple of years later, they came back to Gary and said, hey, remember that stuff we used to do at the front of the class? Can we start doing that again? Because we miss it. The 6 personal perspectives is probably that and quantum leap are the 2 classes that are intertwined in every other class in Keller Williams. And how many of you took a biology class or an astronomy class like in high school or college? You looked through a lens. When you adjusted that lens just right, what happened?
Came clearer.
Came clearer. You saw something that you know is there. The 6 personal perspectives is the lens through which high achievers see the world. And it starts with committing to self-mastery. And you know someone's in mastery when they go back and they go back, and they go back and they go back, and they're studying and they're practicing. I've taken career visioning and recruit select. I don't know, I'm probably at 20 some times. It's not that I'm a slow learner, I just wanted to master the art of hiring talent and understanding the code and understanding how to read the tea leaves in the KPA. So commit to self-mastery, be committed to you being the best version of yourself. Committing to the 80-20 principle. There are 196 tasks that you have to do in your job as a real estate agent to be able to say you're good at as a real estate agent. There are 7 of those that produce 80% of your outcome. And I would almost argue those 7 produce 90% of your outcome. Lead generation, lead conversion and follow-up, going on listing appointments, then going on buyer appointments in that order, negotiating contracts, practicing your scripts and dialogue, learning your market and working on your business, not in your business, which means your GPS, your 411, your 36 touch, having clarity on that. Those 7 things, you do those religiously in your calendar every single day, you will have a massive business, massive. Moving from E to P means moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful, or as we call it, moving from easy to painful. When I was a new real estate agent, I'd show up at the office about 11 o'clock, and then we'd go on agent tour and I'd eat some donuts, and I'd do some stuff in the afternoon. About 4:30, I'm like, I need to call some of my clients. I'd pick the phone and call them, and I'd go home, and I thought that was a productive day. I didn't realize what I should be doing is coming in at 8:30 and reviewing my 411, and at 9 o'clock starting to lead generating 9 to 11. By the way, Wayne's a great example of this. Loretta is also. Lead generate 9 to 11, and then do my lead conversion, lead follow-up 11 to 12, and pre-block my listing appointments and my buyer appointments such that they're on my calendar, because calendar is for maintaining your goals, not maintaining your appointments. Which is to say, if I were to look at your calendar, could I tell your goals by looking at your calendar? So if you know your economic model says that you have to have 4 appointments a week to hit your goals, go in and pre-block those appointments. I do those at 4 o'clock, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or 1 on Saturday morning. Now, are your clients always available those times? No, and you're gonna move it. But the key is if you erase it, you have to replace it. And so if you only get 2 or 3 appointments in, okay, next week, then add those to your calendar and you gotta go move them and actually put them on there. And if you do that, and you do that every day, and you play the game of I lead generate so I can fill those appointments, you will have a massive business. But that's moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. The first time this really hit me was when Chris Heller was being interviewed in 2011. And they asked him on stage. Chris ran a massive home team in sales team in San Diego. And they asked Chris, when was the last day you missed a day of lead generation? And Chris is not even, he's kind of got a little bit of a marbly mouth. He doesn't really enunciate real well. And he says from stage, he goes, well, I guess it was September the 11th. I just didn't feel like that was a good day to be calling people. And this is, towards the end of the year, and I was like, September the 11th, okay, got it. And then I realized as he was talking, he was like, no, the September the 11th. And this was like 2012 or 2013. So it had been like 12 years since he had missed a day of lead generation. That's E to P. Then it's make learning your foundation of achievement. It's always be learning. You will be the same person you are today 5 years from now, with 2 exceptions. The books and the information you ingest and the people that you surround yourself with. That's the only 2 ways you will change in the next 5 years. Remove your limiting beliefs, realizing that every one of you have the exact same fears. And fear is just that lizard brain trying to protect you from something. And where does fear live? Fear is an electrical impulse in your brain. It's not real, okay? Lions are real, they will eat you, but your fears will not eat you. So remove your limiting beliefs and turn those into unlimited beliefs. And lastly, be accountable. And accountability means awareness. When you turn your Apple Maps when you turn Apple Maps or Google Maps on, you get a blue dot. And it just says, hey, this is what's real, this is where you are. That's all accountability is. From there, you can then choose, what do I have to do to get where I want to go? The 6-person perspective is woven into everything that we do. This is a whole bunch of the curriculum that we have. Value Squared is the one class I have on my agenda to teach this year, and it's the newest of the material. I also have servant productivity leadership on my agenda this year, so I'm telling Rebecca, hold me accountable for getting those two scheduled.
These are some of the books that I'm downloading.
Those are some of the things you've downloaded, yeah,
Yeah, I've
good,
got Value 2 downloaded and I run through it all the time on my,
good,
it's gonna be some of my, in the presentations as
Good.
well.
you're talking Value Squared, yeah. All of that material lives in Connect. Connect just moved from the old kwconnect.com to now when you log into Command, that center button that says Connect on there, that's turning into kind of a Netflix-like process where it learns what you like and it will display more content that's related to what you've seen before. Now that is officially, as of I think last week, the actual only place that you'll find all that. You go there and you search for KWU, you'll find all the material, the scripts catalogs, it's all in there. So you have access to all of it. A couple of other things. Gary does his state of the market updates twice a year, mega camp and family reunion. I do the monthly ones that fill in the gap in between of what's happening. You have the playbooks. Gary wrote this to teach people how to grow a team, and people went, yeah, but how do you do this? How do you do that? They then wrote the MREA operations guide, which if you print those out, it's like this thick of how you do everything in there. Now, the playbooks are in addition to that. So they're taking top agents, they turn them into one pagers. You'll hear us refer to a one pager, and they show this is how they do golden letter. This is how they do that. If you've not looked at those or downloaded those, see Rebecca, go to Connect, Google, go into Connect and type in playbooks, you'll find them. There are so many ideas in there that it is unbelievable. I said earlier, upload it to AI, tell them this is what I like to do, and let it tell you which one would apply to you. This is a little bit of what KW Connect looks like. There's so many resources out there, it's crazy. The MREA, we talked a lot about this. This is a book to master and read and reread and reread. Probably the two pages that are the most important is page 122 and page 202. 122 is the 4 fundamental models. And if you think about your car has 4 tires on it. And as long as they're inflated and you got gas in the tank, you're going to be able to go somewhere. If you have a flat tire, you're stuck on the side of the road. If your business isn't going somewhere, it means you have a flat in one of the 4 fundamental models. And you can always remember the fundamental models as ELBO, ELBO, economic, lead generation, budget, and organizational model. It's a literal paint by number system to achieve any goal that you want to achieve. There they are. This is what an economic model looks like when you put it together, and it starts with what you want to earn, and it brings it all the way down to your points needed. So in this agent's case, earning a net income of $150,000 after all expenses were paid, pre-tax came down to 3.5 appointments a month, which is 3 one month and 4 the next, or we just round that up to 4 and say 4 appointments. So you got 30 days to have 4 people that say, yeah, I'd like to talk to you, and you get 150 grand from doing that. And this happens to be at an average of, this is at an average of 325,000. Here we're double that. So you make 300 grand by having 4 appointments a month. Isn't that crazy? That's cool. That's the economic model. This is page 202. Even if you're not thinking about growing a team, start to think about it in advance, because you may find a level 1 team is you doing everything. And I will argue pretty well that at a level 1 team, a solo agent's customer service is probably the worst customer services of anyone, because you're having to be a jack of all trades and do everything yourself. Now, you're a husband and wife team. That changes the dynamics. Like there's 2 people doing the same stuff. I was that for many years also, and you can sometimes give better customer service even than a solo agent can, because you guys both bring different perspectives to the table. A solo agent will hit their ceiling of achievement at about 30 units a year. In other words, an agent can on average get to 24 to 30 units before they have to hire anyone else. And you've got Abigail, so you already can have built-in transactional support, which would actually let you do more than 30 units. But at 30 units, we found that agents start to hit their head on a ceiling. That's when it's time to hire your first admin, your EA, your executive assistant. We know from experience that when you hire an EA, the work that they take off your plate by marketing to your 36 or marketing your 36 or your 72 touch and taking the 80% activities off your plate, we know that that agent will go from doing 30 units a year to doing 60 units a year. When you hire your second admin, one now does marketing and one now does transactional support. We know with complete certainty that that agent can go from 60 units a year to 90 units a year. And when it's time to hit 90 units a year, you're ready for a showing specialist. Most people jump to a buyer's agent first. They lose a ton of money by doing that. The showing specialist takes the car out of the equation. And now you can get to about 120 units a year. And most importantly, you're not out in the field evenings and weekends showing buyers. A fourth level team is one of the most profitable places to be. And it's also the best quality of life you can possibly experience as an agent. So think about visioning. Again, I started off this morning saying life's lived inside to the outside. Go figure out what is your life by design number? What do you really need to be earning to be living the life that you truly deserve and that you truly want? And then work backwards through your economic model and say, okay, now how big does my database need to be? Now, how big, what does my 36 or 72 touch need to look like? I need to just start saying 72 touch and not 36. I'm so used to being a 36 touch. And then over time, how many people are you going to need from the organizational chart to fill in? Because once you start to do that, I sat down at Mega Camp that first year and I did the economic model of a $100 million team because we're dorks. We went back at the hotel room, packed up our stuff and sat in the Austin airport and did that all night. We had an early morning flight. Once I put on paper what the economic model was of a $100 million sales volume team, guess what I thought about? How many people, how many units, how many appointments? My RAS was turned on for that. You can move on. Most people aspire to go to a 7th level, which is where you've replaced yourself and stepped out. The reality is most people don't really truly want to do that. And in this, if you're going to get down into here, you really have to be committed to pushing through because your profitability will go from somewhere around 58 to 62% down to as low as 17% as you push through, and then it will end up back at 40% again. 30, 30, 40 is the model. 30% cost of sale, 30% fixed cost, 40% profit. That's the typical economic model. So pay attention to the organizational chart. You may find you just need 1 admin or 2 admins, and you can do 60 to 90 units a year and be happy as a lark. Okay, career visioning. CV is, I said, our nuclear weapon. This is a class that teaches you how to understand, how to acquire and interact with talent. I really recommend you, even if you don't know if you're going to hire someone someday, go take this class. It's usually about $250. It's offered in the North Florida region. It's also offered at KWRI at the headquarters, which is where you get to meet all the best and the brightest in the industry. Career visioning is the process of learning how to use the KPA and the 7 steps of the career visioning process. 30, 60, 90 is once you hire someone, how do you train them to be a self-led individual by the 3rd month? And then success through others is how do you lead them over time so that they accomplish their goals while they're helping you accomplish your goals. The KPA is the Keller Personality Assessment or the Keller Professional Assessment. How many of you guys have taken one? Good. Has it all been verified? Good. Okay, good. The KPA gives you a very clear picture of how to interact with other people. Heather and I, when we were dating, we gave each other our KPAs and reviewed it together. Because if you've lived with someone for a long time, you know all their idiosyncrasies, you know all their behaviors. But when you're just starting to get into business with someone, you don't have that. And yet, guess what? The KPA will show you. Do they have high intensity? Do they have high assertiveness? Do they have high optimism? And how does that show up? Or low optimism? So this is something to really study. If you've not taken one, we can get you one. DISC is a communication tool, kind of like KPA, except KPA is Technicolor, DISC is kind of more black and white. And I will never forget the first time, so there's D, I, S, and C. D is demanding driver, they're hot, they move fast. I is high personality, and the I is usually the life of the party. The S's are 63% of the population. The S's keep all the rest of us from killing each other, if I'm being honest. And the C's are the compliant, correct. They're about 6 to 9% of the population. They're the architects and the accountants and the people that everything has to be accurate. It's important to know the DISC because when you're interacting with your sales clients, you want to make sure that you're meeting them, you're mirroring and matching. People like that. The first time I ever went on a high D listing appointment, and this is a true story, I'm sitting on the street waiting for the client. She comes pulling in like a Range Rover. She throws the garage door up. She flips the door open. She jumps out in high heels. She leaves her car door open. And she's like, come on, follow me. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I go in and she's in the refrigerator pulling some stuff out. And she's like, okay, so, what do you need from me? And I'm going, well, I need you to sit down at the kitchen table and I need to go through my listing presentation because that's what I've been taught to do. And she's like, look, I got about 10 minutes. She's like, can we just get this paperwork signed? And I was like, yeah, like push hard, there's cheap carbon. And she's like, you need a key? Yep, great. And she's like, okay, well, lock up when you leave. And she gets in the car and drives off. I was like, oh my God, what just happened? Well, that was a high D. That was like a epitome of a high D. The high I's, you'll know them because they're going to talk, and they want to be your friend. The biggest fear of a high D is wasting my time. The biggest fear of a high I is not being liked. The high S's, they're going to be cooler and calmer. When you go on their listing appointments, they have 3 cats. They have pictures of their family on every wall in the house. They're concerned about safety and security. They want to know that you're going to take care of them. They want to know everything's going to be okay. They want to know that everything is going to work out. And so you have to kind of meet them where they are. The high C's, when you go on a listing appointment with a high C and you pull out your market analysis, they pull out their 14-page flip chart that they put together to show you all the reasons why your data is wrong. Has anyone ever had that listing appointment? Yes, it's fine. And so understanding who they are, when I was a team leader, my staff knew to tell me who was waiting in the lobby because I'm a super high D, super high I. And if I had a high S sitting out there and I showed up at my natural state, they'd probably be scared and leave the front lobby. So understand this and recognize that different people want to be communicated with in different ways. And there's no right or wrong behavior. It's just their behavior. But to the extent that you can mirror and match them, that's important. Team meetings, these are some other things. Team meetings are critically important for attending to get updates. That's a communication pathway. They're now held weekly. We are Wednesdays at Tuesdays at 11. Please come to team meetings. I know a lot of you guys are already preaching to the choir. Grab someone who's off the reservation and bring them in also. I had an experience in 2003 when I had 3 family tragedies in a month. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of went into my backyard and I started putting in a garden, and I gardened for about 6 months. Someone from my office called and said, hey, we haven't seen you lately. We have a sales meeting tomorrow. We'd love to see you. I listened to the voicemail, hung it up. My then spouse said, was that Doug? And I said, yeah. And she's like, is he telling us we need to come to the meeting? And I said, yeah. She's like, we probably ought to go to the meeting. Suited up the next day, went to the meeting. That year I had a flat year, but it was the only year that my business didn't grow. I finished similar to the previous year, but we had grown every single year of our career. So reach out to someone that's off the reservation. Go, hey, we'd love to see you at team meeting, or we'd love to see you at the class. Technology series, that's Brad's Ignite. Regional trainings and events, bold business objective, a life by design. It's been rewritten. It's almost Quantum Leap now, but Bold is a hyper-intensive 7-week coaching conditioning program that we fly in specialty coaches to teach and train, and the average agent does somewhere between 11 and 18 units in that 7-week period of time. So it drives productivity. KWRI events, I can't stress this one enough. Mega Camp and Family Reunion. Family Reunion is 17,000 of your closest friends from Keller Williams coming together to mastermind, to be on panels, to have conversations, to learn from, to send referrals to. It's an investment to get on a plane and go. It's going to be in Atlanta next February. The ticket's like $5.99, something like that. I forget what the ticket price is.
Like $9.99.
$9.99. It's gone up because the events have got more expensive. Go to Family Reunion. You will bring back energy. You will bring back connections. My first time that I went to Mega Camp, I did 3 referrals, and I wasn't even with Keller Williams yet. I had 3 referrals that I closed. Mega Camp, Family Reunions for everyone. Mega Camp is for the top thinkers. This is where you're going to hear from agents doing 2, 3, 4, 500,000, 2, 3, 4, 500. You've got people like Houston, Texas.
Rick,
I can't believe I can't pull his name out.
Al.
Yeah, Lance Logan. Lance Logan. Lance is gonna do like 3,000 units this year. And he will give you everything he does. He doesn't care. You can go to all 3 Coastal Living Collection, Market Center training opportunities. Shift is the next book to really pay attention to in the series. There are 12 tactics to tackle tough times. Shift Tactics 7 is all about price reductions and how to deal with pricing strategies, and it's absolutely relevant in this market that we're in right now. So grab a copy of that, and then you've got The One Thing, which is the 3rd book in the series to read. The One Thing is basically Quantum Leap, but no one would buy a book called Quantum Leap, so they called it The One Thing. And it's a series of productivity systems and mindsets that let you optimize your outcome. And when you read that book, you're going to hear a lot. You'll hear a lot of things that we talk about in Keller Williams all in one spots. Podcasts. We have the One Thing podcast. We have Think Like a CEO, and we have the Millionaire Real Estate Agent podcast. By the way, there was one about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. Young kid, 23 years old, that did 130 units in his like 2nd or 3rd year in the business. They gave the answers to every single thing that he did to do it. Like,
Is that the golden letter? Is that Will?
I think it was the one that was the high C personality, really quiet.
Yeah, the introvert.
Yeah, he was the introvert.
Yeah, so he did the golden ladder.
Okay.
Yeah, golden ladder.
Good job. You guys were listening. I like that. So massively valuable. These are also really good to reach out and give to a co-op or give to another agent. When you do a deal with an agent, give them a copy of the Red Book and say, hey, I'd love to get you to my team leader and let you talk about how to overcome the strategies in the market. Send them a podcast link. Hey, this is something I thought you might get some value out of. Over time, you will attract someone to your downline. Training calendar. This still says KW Select Hub and KW Gold Hub. You can go on and do you all have the Team Up app on your phones? Good. We're preaching to the choir on that. You do have Market Center specific resources on the hubs. We are updating the Do Not Call section on this right now with Brad. There will be a local Do Not Call button where somehow it disappeared on there, but if someone says, put me on your Do Not Call list, you'll need to go into the hub and enter that information, and that's a requirement under federal law. The Do Not Call guidelines, Murray and Sally just did a call on that this week. We're going to get that recording out. I think you were on it, right? No. Someone that was in here today was on that call. I don't remember who it was. I thought it was you.
I missed that one.
Oh, there's a few people I saw in there.
Yeah. Anyway, Do Not Call is a massive hot button right now. I have an agent in my Des Moines office that got hit with this. He's 27 years old. The guy, when he called, he used Mojo. Dialers are a big part of the problem. There's 63% of all Do Not Call lawsuits start with an auto dialer. So you're better off just to manually dial the phone. The guy answered the phone, he goes, "Gotcha, I knew you were gonna call me." He was just waiting for someone to call that he could report. When we got the lawsuit, they sued him and they sued the brokerage. Our attorney, by the way, it's federal court, so it's a federal issue, not a state issue. Our attorneys came back and said the brokerage liability could be as high as $60 million if we lose. So we need to not lose this. We got out of the lawsuit. It cost us, I think it was $68,000 of legal fees over about a 4-month period of time to get out of it. The agent was never able to get out of it. He ended up going on to declare bankruptcy. So it cost him everything that he had because he made a phone call to someone on the do not call list. This stuff is real, so be careful.
And so, you know, updated, it's kwrshub.com.
kwrshub.com, okay. And we're working on getting it changed over to coastalliving.com. On there is a button that says search the do not call registry. We pay for a service that rather than you having to go out and download the 5 area codes and pay the $2,000 fee and blah, 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 we pay a couple cents every time you use that. So if you're unsure if someone's on the do not text or do not call list, go plug the number in there and you'll find out. When you work with your customers, your do not call connection lasts 18 months. So put a reminder in your database every 18 months to call your client and just say, hey, is it okay if I still maintain communication with you? And they go, yep. And it's best to document that you actually call them in there because that's a part of the safe harbor. If you get clipped on it and you can show that you have a history of documenting those things, they go a lot more lenient on you. This is a set of tools that we used to use called CGI, and they've been retired, but I'll leave them in here because I think it's really important. And Rebecca can walk through this with you. But just like the MREA is a model for how you run your business, the CGI tools gives you listing management to tell you how many listings do you need at all times, monthly, a pipeline that you can maintain with your customers. You deliver value, how much GCI do you earn? Then you got your multi-year trends and commands. Your own personal language of real estate. We will dust this back off when the market improves. The market has been so bad that we're just down everywhere every month and it's depressing. So we have not been producing more in a little while. And then the local expert tool. If you have questions on those, see Rebecca. It's a very powerful set of tools. This is the one that I think is even more important. It's just the 4 conversations, tracking every month. How many listing and buyer appointments did you need to go on per month from your economic model? How many did you actually take? How many buyers did you put under exclusive agency? How many listings did you take? The value that you deliver, and then did that turn into closings relative to what your monthly goal is? So if you need 2 closings a month to hit your goal, did you do that? And then how much profit in GCI did that produce? You track those monthly. Accountability and awareness is the breakfast of champions. You will be able to identify where you're off track. We track this in the market center every month. We talk about it with our ALC. And this is kind of what it looks like. Okay. Ignite, you guys are familiar with Ignite. We have lead generation 3612-3. We have not taught that in a little while. That's one of the favorite classes that our agents teach. We have been teaching the success series lately. So Rebecca, this would be a good one to get some agents together. It's how do you close 36 units over 12 months through 3 hours of daily lead generation activities? That's what 3612-3 is. Then we have buyer mastery, seller mastery, and of course we talked about value squared. These are some of the really high impact items. Bold, we've talked a lot about Bold. We do have Bold coming up in August, so you can start to register. Bold is a $7.99 program because the coach actually flies in every week to teach that material. On average, agents earn somewhere between $80,000 and $125,000 on the $7.99 investment. So they make a lot of money from that. So lean into Bold. We've had Bolds. I had 148 of my agents take Bold in 1 year, and I only had 126 agents in that market center. And there's a reason why that office does 2,600 units. It's because they learned how to sell at a high level. A couple of other things I just want to remind you. Kennedy does send out the long range training calendar, and you have events.pw.com. These are all of the events that happen at Keller Williams headquarters. I encourage you, get out of your zip code, get on a plane, go fly down there. We took, 17 agents to Servant Productivity Leadership with Gary. What is that, about 2 years ago?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. Those agents, the culture of the office has changed, their business has changed, their attitude towards leadership changed. They got to meet people, make connections. This is where the best of the best in our company go to learn. The room holds about 210 people. We'll be there next month. We're teaching QL for the 18 to 28-year-olds. 18 to 30-year-olds, and then there's mastery coaching. Once you get to the point of earning about 150,000 of GCI, you have the ability to enter mastery coaching. This is where you have a one-on-one coach that works with you to increase your mindset, your awareness. I've had a mastery coach my entire career with Keller Williams, and there was a period of time where I actually had 2, and my team had 2. So we had four mastery contracts at one time. This is Diana Kokoska. She launched MAPS. She's now left MAPS, but she's still around in Keller Williams. She's coming back to start to teach stuff now that when the transaction happened, MAPS got sold in a different way than what it was before. So she's back in the system. Oh, nice. It's kind of cool. Again, Heather's a MAPS coach. She can get you to someone that's the right coach for you. Everyone has a different coaching specialty, but again, she's had clients that she's taken from like 20 units a year to over 500 units a year. And that particular client, she coached him on how to get twice the average commission rate in his market, which was incredible. Okay, we're about to the end of the road here. I'm going to go. There's Mega Camp Family Reunion. These are the dates if you want to know. February 21st and 24th, Atlanta, Georgia. It's an easy one, cheap flight from here. I'd love to see us take like 40 agents to that. Mega Camp is in San Antonio.
Alamo.
The Alamo. Okay. So we covered a lot of ground here today. Really everything that's left in there is just technology and resource and local market center policies. The one thing that I've got 2 things that we'll get you out of here on time. The one thing I did not cover is I'm going to pull my soapbox out here for a moment. Okay, so this is my soapbox. Inside of a market center, culture is everything. Your culture of caring, your culture of sharing, your culture, your culture of helping people. I'm going to point at Loretta. Loretta is a fantastic example of that. She gives and she gives and she gives. So culture is important, but culture is also fragile. And one of the killers of culture is gossip. And I, as a leadership team, they know this. I really believe that gossip doesn't have any place in an organization. And I define gossip as 2 people having a conversation about a topic that neither of them can affect the outcome of. So if 2 people are talking at the water cooler about something that needs to change, but neither one of them can change it, that's really gossip. And so I always say complaints are handed up to the people that can solve them, and compliments are handed down to the awesome people that earned them. So if there's something wrong or you hear someone complaining about something, make sure that comes up to leadership. We will solve problems. Sometimes there's something somewhere that we didn't realize is an issue. For instance, I'm on leadership command. I see something very different than you guys see. We've had a weird forms issue that we could not for the life of us figure out how to fix. Even our regional tech people were like, no, sure. Well, guess what? Brad and I found a hidden button this week that allowed us to go in and make that change. And if it weren't for one agent that was really persistent in saying this form is wrong, we wouldn't know about it. So when you see that, let us know. Now, the flip side of that is that once we found that button, by the way, it's only the MCA's login that has that button. Not even mine has it. Once we found that, we now are able to update all of your forms package to match our compliance checklists. So you will no longer have to pick and choose as much of which forms get included. You will have 16 different forms packages for the 16 different file types there are. So please, if there's something that's not working right, come and tell us. Here's where I want to leave you on this. Little boy says to his dad, "Hey Dad, we don't play often enough." And Dad, realizing that that's really the case, says, man, you're right, son. And he goes, tell you what, tomorrow's Saturday. We'll just make tomorrow be daddy play day. We'll just play all day. Dad, little boy's like, cool, Dad, this is awesome. So he goes to bed. And next morning, the dad gets up a little bit early. He's got his cup of coffee and he's reading his paper, and he thinks he's gonna have a little bit of time left. And the little boy pulls the paper down and goes, Dad, I'm up, let's play. The dad, thinking that like he got up early, he was gonna be able to enjoy his coffee and sit there for a few minutes. He pondered and he thought for a second, and he realized there were a couple pages earlier in the newspaper, there's a picture of a globe, like a picture of Earth. And he goes, tell you what, son. He tears all the little pieces of paper up and puts them on the table, on the coffee table. And he goes, tell you what, we're gonna put a puzzle together. When you're done with the puzzle, we'll go have daddy son play day. And the kid's like, cool, Dad, this is awesome. And so like the little kid goes to putting the puzzle together. Not more than a few minutes later, the little boy pulls the paper down and goes, Dad, I'm done. And the dad, with complete shock and parental pride, looks down, and the kid has pieced this entire puzzle together. And he goes, so that's really impressive. How did you do that so fast? He goes, well, Dad, it was really hard. I didn't even know what it was. But as I was assembling the pieces of paper, one fell on the floor, and I looked up, and it's a glass coffee table, and I realized there was a picture of a man's face on the back of it. So I just simply put the man together, and the world fell into place. So everything that we've been talking about today is how do you have your best life by having your best business, by adopting the systems and the models and the tools and the culture of Keller Williams. And I'm going to tell you, to the extent that you really lean in and learn, you really understand the MREA, you really spend time on your GPS, your 411, your 72 touch campaign, and you get clear on what the activities are that have to happen, and you're willing to say no to all of the things that would get in the way so you can say yes to your goal, you will have a massive career, a massive life, and you can leave a massive impact in the world. And as we talked yesterday on the OP in our circle call, money is good for the good that it can do. And when you're really clear on how much it takes to lead the life that you want to lead, and you're really clear on what then that means in terms of your ability to tithe or give to the church or give back to the community or leave a legacy in your family, and you just go marching along on the steps that are in this book to do it, you will look up and it will be slowly then suddenly, but 5 or 7 years in the future, you will be that 7-year overnight success story. And other people will be looking up to you to say, how did you do that? Can you show me the pathway? And then you get to turn around and help somebody else. I encourage you, stay true to that journey, lean in, learn, help each other, and let's go have an amazing career. I appreciate your time, you guys. We'll get you out of here. If you have any ahas, anything like that you want to share, you're welcome to. And otherwise, thank you for being here and have a great day.
Thank you. Did you mention QL?
I did not. Go ahead.
So Brian has referred to Quantum Leap over and over.